To become an immortal sooner, I started cultivating in my mother's womb. Moreover, my mom is a female emperor. She is the only woman in the past centuries to prove the Tao and achieve the heavenly emperor fruit. Inside a heavenly emperor's belly, there isn't the expected amniotic fluid. Instead, it is a realm of primal chaos. Every day my mom uses great magical power to cleanse my marrow and forge my bones. The origin power from a heavenly emperor constantly nourishes my physical body and soul at all times. This makes me look forward to the moment of my birth immensely. Calculating the time, there are probably about 5 months left. Just as I was planning to lie flat, the self-discipline system found me. As the host is an emperor's son, you must have peerless cultivation and be different from ordinary people. Please start cultivating immediately. After the task is completed, you will be rewarded with the supreme bone and the heaven-devouring demonic art. Hearing this, I suddenly realized a very serious problem. Since my consciousness awakened until now, I have never been in contact with cultivation. Even though my mom is a heavenly emperor-level powerhouse, and my dad and other relatives around her are equally not weak, none of these people have ever discussed cultivation in front of me. Even if they did discuss it, with my current level, I wouldn't understand it at all anyway. Moreover, I am still in the womb, so there is no way for me to ask my mom and dad to teach me. Continued from the previous part. Shuanger. What is this thing? Do you recognize it? Jiang Wushu was also extremely horrified. He looked at the brat, then looked at the small tree filled with bewilderment. Didn't this little thing just get born? How did he suddenly plant such a tree? Where did it come from? Don't tell me it was also born from his body. I don't believe it. Su Qingshuang's train of thought was not much different from his. At this very moment, that small tree stood quietly in the ruins destroyed by the great battle, taking root among the rubble everywhere. Radiance was released and Tao aura flowed. Swaying gently, it seemed to be able to communicate with heaven and earth and align with the heavenly Tao. In Su Qingshuang's beautiful eyes, the light flickered uncertainly. She carefully comprehended it. And after watching for quite a while, the expression on her peerlessly beautiful face suddenly changed drastically. Ancient Enlightenment tea tree. Su Qingshuang cried out in astonishment. Hearing this, the crowd was shocked beyond belief. This kind of divine tree recorded in ancient texts actually exists. And it was brought out from the mother's womb by the emperor's son. One by one they stretched their necks, staring intently at the small tea tree. Those 108 leaves were all enlightenment tea. Every single tea leaf was naturally formed with Tao patterns, gestating a unique Tao. Even saint ancestor mighty figures, or even heavenly emperors, once they drank the tea brewed from it, would have a chance to comprehend the Tao within. This is a divine object. How could this not make people envious? Looking at their expressions, I couldn't help but grin. Not bad. This ancient enlightenment tea tree was actually recognized by Mom. At this moment, Ji Quni felt a complex mix of emotions. Previously, he was extremely resentful because the emperor's son looked down on the purple flame phoenix blood mushroom and the earth spirit holy milk. Now seeing the ancient enlightenment tea tree, even if he had the slightest bit of resentment left, it was gone. A treasure casually taken out by the emperor's son was enough to crush the pile of items he had presented. How could they compare? In an instant, Ji Quni's old face was full of bitterness. I glared at him sideways and said nothing. Then I fell into deep thought. This ancient enlightenment tea tree produces 108 tea leaves every year. However, looking at its current state, it is obviously not mature yet. It seems I have to wait for another period of time. Thinking this way, the next instant, I suddenly had a flash of inspiration. My eyes suddenly lit up. Right. Why didn't I think of this just now? So foolish. I violently broke free from my mom's embrace, kicked my legs and landed next to the purple flame phoenix blood mushroom he had thrown away, and picked it up. Immediately after, I stretched out my small hand and looked coldly at Ji Quni. Bring it here. Ji Quni's face stiffened, extremely puzzled. After staring at me for a moment, he finally understood. He is asking for the earth spirit holy milk. Your Highness. As long as you like it. He thought the emperor's son had changed his mind and fancied his precious medicine again. This made him extremely excited. What is this brat trying to do? Looking at the completely naked little fellow, Su Qingshuang, Jiang Wushu, Granny, Shi Jian, Ling Tian, and the others all had heads full of questions. But soon they saw the answer. This brat. He wants to use holy medicine as fertilizer. Jiang Wushu suddenly yelled. Even though Jiang Yuxian was just born, he possessed unparalleled divine strength. With a single shake of his arm, he had at least 10 million caddies of force. With a gentle rub of his small hands, he crushed the purple flame phoenix blood mushroom into a pile of fine powder, and sprinkled it at the root of the tea tree. Then he pulled the stopper off the earth spirit holy milk and poured it down. The powerhouses from Hidden Sword Mountain Jade Cauldron Holy Land Fulong Divine Dynasty, and others, watched with their hearts pounding in fear. Everyone cried out in their hearts continuously. That is holy medicine. It was actually used as fertilizer by the Emperor's son. This is too wasteful. He simply deserves to be struck by lightning. Okay. A group of sane ancestors wished they could go berserk on the spot. In the crowd, Ji Qunyi's old face twitched non-stop. The family fortune he had accumulated for many years was actually used to fertilize and water a tree. This was truly cutting flesh and bleeding from his heart. This brat. Wushu, quickly hold me back. I'm afraid I won't be able to resist beating him up. At this moment even Su Qingshuang had the urge to spank his butt. Jiang Wushu didn't hear her words at all. He just stared at Jiang Yuxian, his chest heaving rapidly, his hands clenching until they cracked. This little bastard. 2 rare holy medicines could at least extend Granny's lifespan by another 10 years. And they were just ruined by you like this. Jiang Wushu roared in his heart. The veins on his forehead bulged thicker than beans. He was extremely angry. But not long after, his belly full of anger quickly dissipated. Jiang Wushu's eyes twitched slightly as he saw that in the soil, the light emitted by the purple flame phoenix blood mushroom powder and the earth spirit holy milk was fading at a speed visible to the naked eye. The medicinal energy within them was entirely absorbed by the ancient Enlightenment tea tree. The 108 leaves on the branches shone brilliantly, becoming increasingly emerald green and crystal clear. The patterns engraved on them became clearer. Mysterious power flowed along the veins, and every trajectory seemed to correspond to some invisible order stacking together, triggering the frantic growth of powerful Tao aura. Suddenly a humming sound spread out. The tea tree released divine 7-colored brilliant light, enveloping half of the mountain peak. In the surrounding space it was as if the great Tao's cosmic sound was singing, making heaven and earth resonate. Jiang Wushu, Su Qingshuang, Granny Shi, and others standing within it only felt dazzled and intoxicated. Rumble. Even the others not far away. The power in their bodies operated uncontrollably, emitting rumbling sounds. That small tea tree seemed to be able to pull at their Tao. Is this the terrifying divine tea recorded in ancient texts? Just standing next to the tea tree has such an effect. If one plucked a leaf and drank a cup, how astonishing would that be? Chu Feixian swallowed his saliva and said this. The others had the same thought. Their hearts were incredibly moved. If they could get a tea leaf, it would be a heaven-sent fortune. The group of saint ancestor mighty figures might even comprehend a certain Tao from it, taking a step further from the pinnacle. No one could resist this temptation. But after all, it was the Emperor's son's belonging. None of them had the thick skin to shamelessly ask for it. I didn't notice the crowd's gazes. I just stared at the tea tree. This is exactly right. Although those 2 holy medicines weren't great, if waste is utilized properly, the effect is also quite good. In just a moment, the Enlightenment tea should be ready for picking. Under the catalysis of the 2 holy medicines, the Enlightenment tea is growing rapidly. Next I just have to quietly wait. I nodded in satisfaction, then kicked my legs, my body soared into the air, and I hung back onto Mom's neck. I even shot a warning glance at Ji Qunyi in the crowd, full of disdain. Such a look made Ji Qunyi's heart skip a beat. Before he could have any more reactions, he heard an elder of the Huanchu Holy Land suddenly sneer. Ji Qunyi. The earth spirit holy milk, the purple flame phoenix blood mushroom, and that pile of scrap metal. Are those the things you brought to buy your life? Is your dog life really that worthless? As these words fell, others also began to sneer. The treasures Ji Qunyi brought out could indeed be considered extraordinary. But that depends on who you're comparing them to. Obviously the Emperor's son is not included in this category. How could mere holy items enter his discerning eyes? Knowing perfectly well that Frost Heavenly Emperor and Saint Ancestor Wushu probably wouldn't care for them, he still tried to use them to deceive the Emperor's son. He didn't expect to outsmart himself in the end, ruthlessly slapping his own old face. It is simply the biggest joke in the world. Facing the crowd's mockery and contempt, Ji Qunyi's face turned green. Beside him the Jinghong Emperor Su Quangren and several elders of the Longevity Mu family also trembled, looking embarrassed. They had originally planned to imitate Ji Qunyi, using treasures to exchange for their lives. Now it seems that doing so would only bring humiliation upon themselves. They all possessed some extraordinary items. But added together they probably wouldn't even come close to that single ancient Enlightenment tea tree. This made the Jinghong Emperor and the others smile bitterly, feeling completely hopeless. I'm afraid it will be truly difficult to give a proper explanation today. Looking at their appearances, Jian Lingtian spoke in a deep voice again. Everyone! Stop wasting your efforts. You ignored the demonic path causing disasters. And even attempted a surprise attack to kill the Heavenly Emperor. This is an unforgivable, heinous crime. You must pay a price in blood. Di Bat Ian, He Mengchong and others. A terrifying fierce glint burst forth in their pupils once again. You still vainly hope to bring up the achievements of your ancestors. Holding high the banner of human righteousness. Trying to oppress us with high-sounding words. Madmen like you all. Keeping you alive is a disaster for the 3,000 Tao realms, leaving endless future troubles. Frost Heavenly Emperor. Saint Ancestor Wushu. Why not kill all these thieves right here today? And end it once and for all. Powerhouses voiced their opinions one after another. Everyone now realized the truth. They were almost led astray by that old dog Ji Quni. In an instant, overwhelming killing intent rolled in layer by layer. All pressing down towards the Ji family, the Mu family, the Jinghong divine dynasty and others. The Jinghong Emperor Ji Quni Su Quangren and others trembled violently all over. One by one they fell to the ground, kowtowing repeatedly and crying out. Frost Heavenly Emperor, spare our lives. We truly know we were wrong. As long as you can spare my dog life, I will definitely erect longevity tablets for Frost Heavenly Emperor and Saint Ancestor Wushu, and worship them for the rest of my life. Oh right, and for the Emperor's son. Jiang Wushu and Su Qingshuang, husband and wife, looked at them with ice-cold gazes. Like they were looking at a group of clowns. Now you know to beg for mercy? Jiang Wushu's face was pale. He turned his head to look at Jiang Yuxian in his wife's arms. His gaze softened a bit. But his mouth still sneered continuously. If it weren't for my son Yuxian, who helped his mother avoid the weakened period, who knows, today might have actually been a success for you old dogs. At this time the surrounding crowd had varying expressions. But upon hearing Jiang Wushu's words, they all froze simultaneously and cried out in shock. Pairs of eyes couldn't help but look toward him. What the heck? Frost Heavenly Emperor didn't enter the weakened period because of the Emperor's son? What is the situation here? For a moment everyone present was completely dumbfounded, feeling incredibly puzzled in their hearts. No one could understand Jiang Wushu's words, except for Ji Quni. He was originally kowtowing and crying out loudly, but his voice suddenly stopped. He lifted his head with a blank, dull gaze, looking at the infant covered in divine light in Frost Heavenly Emperor's arms. Ji Quni's thoughts were racing, until a certain moment, as if struck by a sudden thunderbolt, he came to his senses. So that's how it is. This old man has always calculated without missing a detail. Yet I took a massive fall today. I never expected, despite thousands of calculations. I actually missed calculating the Emperor's son. Ji Quni cried out sorrowfully in his heart. At this moment Ji Quni felt as if he had been enlightened and suddenly understood. Before he was even born, the Emperor's son already possessed world-shaking fortune and unparalleled marvels. Cultivating in the womb, creating a new ultimate realm for bone tempering. Thunder Martial Meridian, Immaculate Sword Heart. Plus that ancient Enlightenment tea tree that is growing robustly. Every single item. Every single thing. Which of them isn't world-shocking? Which of them isn't astonishing? If one were to say that at the time of his birth he also did something unexpected, allowing Frost Heavenly Emperor to avoid the weakened period after giving birth. Although shocking, it wasn't impossible to accept. In this way everything makes sense. The will of heaven. This is the will of heaven. Ji Quni wailed loudly, holding his head in agony. He had always been resourceful and deeply calculating. But this time a single oversight ruined everything. He just happened to overlook the Emperor's son, this greatest variable. Including Xue Honglu, it was the same for him. No one had anticipated this detail. Otherwise, let alone Xue Honglu, only having a half-emperor cultivation. Even if he were 10 times stronger, so what? No matter how deep his obsession with becoming an emperor was, he would absolutely never dare to challenge a heavenly emperor at her peak. It actually has to do with the Emperor's son. Everyone in the field widened their eyes. Their gazes sometimes lingered on the Emperor's son, and sometimes looked at Jiang Wushu and Su Qingshuang, wanting to get final confirmation. Dad is quite smart after all. In Su Qingshuang's arms I grinned. I didn't expect Dad to see through the truth of the matter so quickly. Jiang Wushu ignored the crowd's inquiries. He just stared menacingly at Ji Quni, the Jinghong Emperor, and the others, wearing a cold sneer. Shuanger. Let's kill these bastards first. Cough cough. Jiang Wushu spoke in a chilling voice. But right after finishing his words, he suddenly started coughing violently. Saint Ancestor Wushu. Brat Zhang. Granny Shi Mengchong and others couldn't help but cry out in alarm. Dad! What? Mom and I also instantly became anxious. Su Qingshuang grabbed Jiang Wushu's palm and passed her vigorous heavenly emperor aura into his body. After quite a while, Jiang Wushu finally eased up. I'm fine. He gasped heavily, waved his hand, and said weakly. But at this time Jiang Wushu's complexion was even more haggard than before, pale as paper. A trace of glaring blood trickled down the corner of his mouth. It seems Dad's source origin damage is quite severe. From within my swaddling clothes I looked at his state with some heartache. I never doubted Dad's strength. However, he was facing a quasi-emperor demon attendant, and the opponent held an emperor weapon in hand. Dad exhausted everything and burned his source origin, just to protect my mother and me perfectly. It's not hard to imagine that he almost walked through the gates of hell this time. In the future he will definitely need to spend a massive amount of time to recover to his peak state. This moved my heart, filled with warmth. Dad, here for you. Without thinking much, I immediately stretched out my small hand, trying hard to hand it in front of Dad's eyes. Jiang Wushu was slightly taken aback. Brat! What are you giving me? He was heard laughing softly. I just smiled playfully, looking at Dad like this, signaling him to reach out and take it. Jiang Wushu didn't know what the little guy was trying to do, but he didn't think much of it either. He cooperated by opening his palm, but immediately following that he saw a crystal-clear liquid flow from between my fingers, falling into his palm. As soon as this drop of liquid appeared, it radiated a brilliant rosy light. Intense life essence evaporated, turning into mist that swept through the void. Instantly on the ground beneath their feet that had been entirely destroyed by the great battle, green sprouts broke through the soil and grew robustly. That ancient Enlightenment tea tree also erupted with an even more dazzling green light, its branches and leaves swaying gently rustling. Jiang Wushu's eyes instantly went straight, thoroughly shocked. He stared blankly at the drop of liquid in the center of his palm. His gaze trembled continuously. That unimaginably dense vitality seemed to possess the power to turn decay into magic, brimming with life, making all things radiate vigor. Standing aside, Granny Shi's reaction was even stronger. She was terribly aged, but enveloped in that seven-colored rosy light. She felt every cell in her body come alive and throb. Her whole person's spirit was also greatly invigorated. A trace of radiance rippled in her murky eyes. Su Qingshuang's gaze also flickered continuously. So it was this thing. She clearly felt that the reason she was able to recover instantly after giving birth to Jiang Yuxian was because of that drop of liquid. The exact same aura. Su Qingshuang's eyes stared intently at the little fellow. Yuxian, he actually brought out another heaven-shaking precious medicine. At this moment all the powerhouses present, the way they looked at that little thing all changed. But my focus was on Dad. I was extremely anxious. Dad, hurry up and refine and absorb it. The essence is all running away. You wasteful prodigal. Seeing Dad zoning out, I desperately waved my arms and legs to urge him. That is the primeval divine spring. Every trace of essence slipping away is a huge loss. After a brief moment of being stunned, Jiang Wushu started to refine the primeval divine spring. The next moment the imposing aura around his body started to climb steadily. Terrifying saintly pressure surged out, stirring heaven and earth. Laws danced, principles intertwined, and all things resonated. In the blink of an eye he recovered to his peak state. Jiang Wushu's whole body was enveloped in divine light. His posture was tall and straight, his hair fluttered, and his eyes were full of brilliance. Saint Ancestor Wushu he. Not only did his damaged source origin recover instantly, even his cultivation seems to have improved somewhat. What kind of divine medicine is this to be so powerful? The War King Di Wushuang couldn't help but exclaim in shock. The rest of the people also felt incomparably terrified. Ha ha ha. The little guy even has this kind of divine medicine. Worthy of being my Jiang Wushu's son. Absolutely incredible. Jiang Wushu suddenly laughed aloud heartily. Extremely delighted. Shuanger, quickly give the brat to me. He reached out and snatched Jiang Yuxian from Su Qingshuang's arms, smiling broadly at the little fellow, his mouth almost stretching to the base of his ears. Brat, you better confess honestly. How much more of that divine medicine do you have? Hand it all over to your father. Hearing Dad's words, my small face instantly stiffened. Jiang Wushu's words immediately attracted everyone's attention. Everyone looked at me. They all wanted to know. But I instantly stiffened my little face and puffed my cheeks. Dad, what do you want to do? You actually covet my treasures? Can we even maintain this father-son relationship? I waved my arms and legs, yelling fiercely at Dad. I'm so angry. Dad is actually scheming against me. And even wants the primeval divine spring. I rolled my eyes, dramatically crossed my arms and glared at Dad. Seeing his expression, Jiang Wushu froze. Just that one drop? Really gone? Su Qingshuang couldn't help but look hopefully at the little fellow in her arms. What do you think that is? Having as much as you want? It's gone. Not a single drop left. I turned my head away, extremely dissatisfied. But immediately after I was suddenly grabbed by Dad and lifted in front of his face. Jiang Wushu's face suddenly changed, flying into a rage. You brat! Why didn't you say so earlier? He changed his face faster than turning a page of a book. He flipped Jiang Yuxian over. And a large hand slapped down fiercely onto his butt. Smack! Smack! Wah! Ah! Ah! Dad, you dare hit me? Stop it right now! I yelled in pain. Tears almost flowing out. Dad is really hitting hard. One slap after another, hitting extremely heavily. Not a hint of joking at all. This made me extremely furious. Good grief. I helped you recover your source origin. And you immediately come to beat me. Biting the hand that feeds you, huh? I'm warning you. Stop right now, otherwise I'll let Mom deal with you, believe it or not. Wah. Ah. Ah. Mom, save me. I screamed, feeling intense pain from my butt. What? Brat Jiang. Why are you beating him up like this? Su Qingshuang and Granny, she hurriedly stopped him, and stepped forward to snatch Jiang Yuxian back. With every slap Jiang Wushu landed, it hurt the little fellow's body. But it hurt their hearts even more. Su Qingshuang's beautiful eyes were brewing with anger as she glared at Jiang Wushu. If it weren't in front of the powerhouses from various holy lands and great sects, she would want to land heavy punches on Jiang Wushu again. Meanwhile, the many powerhouses in the distance were all stunned. Why didn't you tell your father earlier that the divine medicine was the last drop? Your father burned his source origin. At worst, I could just spend a few years to recover. But if this was given to Granny Shi, it would have been of great use. Jiang Wushu beat his chest and stomped his feet, heartbroken and regretful. Hearing this, the crowd finally understood why he wanted to beat the little fellow. For a moment, Su Qingshuang's expression also dimmed a little. Instead, it was Granny Shi herself who smiled kindly, revealing her toothless gums. She held Jiang Yuxian, her withered hand constantly rubbing the little fellow's butt. She channeled a weak stream of energy within her body, treating his injuries. Little fellow, don't lower yourself to your dad's level. Being able to see you born, Granny is already very satisfied. Granny is fine. Granny still wants to accompany you as you grow up. Granny, she spoke softly and gently, her face full of amiability. I understood at this moment, but I still felt extremely wronged in my heart. I roared loudly at Dad. Isn't it just wanting to give it to Granny? You thought of it. Do you think I wouldn't know? Let me tell you, I've already prepared it. I bared my fangs and brandished my claws, looking fierce. I snorted heavily through my nose. Then, under pairs of unbelievable gazes, I raised my small hand once again. A drop of radiantly flying spiritual liquid was revealed, falling toward Granny Shi's mouth. An invisible fluctuation rippled out. Granny Shi was instantly stunned. I kicked my legs forcefully and darted back into Mom's embrace. Immediately after, only a loud boom was heard. A burst of incomparably dazzling light erupted from Granny Shi's body. Her aged, hunched body was tightly wrapped within it, disappearing from sight. Boundless rosy clouds and divine brilliance shone brightly, piercing people's eyes. Su Qingshuang and her husband looked at each other, their eyes revealing shock. Even in the depths of Jiang Wushu's eyes, there was a hint of bewilderment. This brat. Didn't he say there was none left? How did he take out another drop? So you were just messing with your father? Just as the crowd was suspicious and amazed, the light outside Granny Shi's body suddenly became even more dazzling. Rumble! A loud noise spread out. Between heaven and earth, a vast and inexplicable aura was born, accompanied by a profound pressure descending upon the mortal world. This is the group of Saint Ancestor mighty figures present. All had their eyes tremble simultaneously. But before they could think more, they saw all this recede like a tide. That light, as bright as a rainbow, also dissipated. Granny Shi's figure was revealed. When they saw her appearance, everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes. How is this possible? This is too scary, right? Voices spoke out in horror one after another. My small mouth also formed a perfect circle, finding it hard to believe. At this time Granny Shi's appearance had drastically changed. Her always hunched body was actually standing much straighter now. Her originally withered flesh and blood had also become plump. The wrinkles on her face were much shallower. Her skin even carried a bit of crystal clear radiance. Her full head of silver hair had turned gray. Those murky eyes were now shining brightly with vigor. She was still aged, but compared to before, her whole person seemed to have suddenly grown tens of thousands of years younger. My heavens! The crowd voiced their shock one after another. Even Su Qingshuang and Jiang Wushu's gazes changed. Granny! Su Qingshuang stood aside and suddenly called out softly. Two streams of tears slid down silently from the corners of her eyes, crying tears of joy. She stepped forward, took Granny's hands and continuously looked her up and down. This is great! This is great! Jiang Wushu was equally excited, the rims of his eyes red, yelling continuously. To this couple, Granny Shi was no different from a blood relative. She was one of the most important people in Su Qingshuang's life. Without her there would be no Frost Heavenly Emperor, who now looks down upon the 3,000 Dao realms, and is unrivaled in the world. It's just a pity that all these years Granny had been trapped at the half-step Saint Ancestor realm. Time wore away her life, leaving her with one foot in the grave, facing her final limit. The couple had tried everything they could, but to no avail. They couldn't truly change destiny. But now Su Qingshuang could be certain. With Granny Shi's current state, living for at least another 100 years was absolutely not a problem. This made her and Jiang Wushu pleasantly surprised beyond compare. Little Qingshuang, don't cry. This old body feels great right now. Thanks to my good grandson. This old body never expected to actually be able to regain a new life. Granny Shi wiped away Su Qingshuang's tears, then looked affectionately at the little fellow in her arms. Crystal clear tears also welled up in her aged eyes. I grinned, smiling very happily. The effect of the primeval divine spring indeed did not disappoint me. Bringing the dead back to life and putting flesh on bare bones really isn't just boasting. Previously, when used on Dad and Mom, the feeling wasn't that obvious. Now looking at Granny Shi's appearance, it's like she's a completely different person. Suddenly so much younger. This effect left me extremely satisfied. This brat. If you still had more on you, why didn't you say so earlier? Making me beat you, my hand hurts too. Jiang Wushu suddenly said with a cheeky smile. But as soon as these words came out, he instantly met Su Qingshuang's ferocious glare. He was immediately scared out of his wits, subconsciously stepping back a pace, laughing awkwardly. I could feel that the previous drop had already allowed Granny Shi to touch the threshold of the Saint realm. Just one step away. Immediately, I tossed out another drop, flying into Granny's mouth. In an instant Granny Shi's body erupted like a blazing sun. Rumble! The general momentum between heaven and earth surged powerfully. Divine energy rumbled continuously. Endless heavenly Tao laws, universal order, and supreme principles, all manifested at this moment. It was as if a divine being held a brush, wildly sketching on blank paper, outlining countless mysterious patterns. Threads and strands densely packed, crisscrossing each other. Seemingly chaotic and profoundly obscure, yet extremely wondrous. At the same time it could be clearly seen that incredibly thick laws tightly surrounded Granny Shi, like terrifying shackles, one after another, firmly imprisoning her within. This is the heaven and earth great Tao, the restraint imposed upon endless living beings. It was also the Saint Realm barrier Granny Shi faced. But soon an incredibly majestic power gradually birthed from Granny Shi's body. Her whole person looked as if she had turned into a peerless divine furnace. Terrifying energy burned furiously, smoking the heavens and scorching the earth, burning all things. A large patch of laws and orders successively snapped under this divine power. The Saint Ancestor barrier is shaking again. The opportunity to become a saint has reappeared. Granny Shi. She is about to become a saint. Many Saint Ancestor mighty figures couldn't help but exclaim in shock. They were incredibly familiar with this situation. Everyone had walked over from this exact step. And right now everything happening to Granny Shi was exactly the omen before achieving the Saint Ancestor realm. She is about to break through rank in the Saint realm and aspire to the ultimate peak. Sure enough, just as the crowd was utterly horrified, immeasurable light violently erupted from Granny Shi's whole body, accompanied by boundless divine power surging out. A loud noise suddenly spread forth. The sky overturned the universe blasted through, and the great Tao roared. The sky full of laws and principles completely shattered, turning into a mess of tangled hemp. A terrifying shackle within Granny, Shi's body was fiercely broken. What followed was a supremely powerful pressure. Like a flash flood erupting, permeating every inch of space, shaking the 9 heavens. Making people's divine souls tremble. This scene caused everyone to simultaneously gasp. Granny Shi broke the shackles of heaven and earth. And successfully advanced to Saint Ancestor. I was held in Mom's arms, retreating to a short distance away. Tightly clenching a pair of small fists, yelling loudly. It worked. It worked. Granny is awesome. Granny Shi broke through the barrier, and attained sainthood on the spot. The old woman's whole body was surrounded by divine radiance. Her body slowly floated up into the air, gracing the 9 heavens. Principles by her side, Tao aura accompanying her. Transforming into endless magnificent radiant colors, swirling and flying, heavenly flowers raining down. In an instant, only the grand heavenly sound could be heard playing from beyond the firmament. Heaven descends anomalies. Purple aura comes from the east. On the ground beneath her feet, divine springs gurgled up and spiritual energy boiled. Blossoms of golden lotuses spewed forth, blooming silently. Divine light dazzled. The brilliant anomalies rolled like a massive tide. In just an instant, it encompassed hundreds of great domains nearby. Countless living beings all saw this scene. The great Tao's cosmic sound sang in their ears, leaving people utterly mesmerized. Countless cultivators were startled. Everyone wanted to know exactly what had happened. Someone has seen through the true meaning of the great Tao and advanced to Saint Ancestor. Very quickly, people with profound cultivation spoke out and revealed the truth. A new saint descends upon the world, aspiring to the highest peak. Another Saint Ancestor level existence has been added to the current era. This made the entire cultivation world boil in an instant. And 10,000 miles outside the profound frost cave heaven, the many people watching the battle were full of shock at this moment. Heavenly flowers raining down. Tao sounds resounding. Purple brilliance filling the sky. Divine springs gurgling. Ground welling with golden lotuses. Various anomalies were right before their eyes. In the void, saintly pressure rolled majestically, permeating every inch of space, making people unable to resist wanting to worship. In the distance, the old woman's figure stood high in the firmament. She looked plain and unadorned, but auspicious clouds rose around her, transforming into true dragons and primeval phoenixes, dancing elegantly, complemented by the grand scenery. It made her seem to possess an indescribable mysterious charm. And those present at the scene, Jian Ling Tian, He Mengchong Di Batian and others, were the most horrified. Their gazes trembled intensely. Granny Shi's aura is still skyrocketing, someone said in shock. Under their watchful eyes, the old woman's body flashed with divine light, becoming increasingly intense. After breaking through to the Saint Ancestor realm, all of this didn't stop. Instead, it intensified even more. That terrifying, imposing aura grew stronger wave by wave, one wave higher than the other. Her cultivation was still rapidly advancing. Saint Ancestor first layer. Saint Ancestor second layer. Saint Ancestor third layer. A group of powerhouses had their eyes twitching violently. The anomalies of the heavens startled the world, lasting for a very, very long time. And finally, following a loud dong sound, as if heaven swung a mallet to make a final decision, the aura of Granny Shi's whole body finally reached its peak. Only then did the sky full of anomalies show signs of fading. Saint Ancestor fourth layer. Everyone from the Jade Cauldron, Holy Land Huanchu, Holy Land, Fulong Divine Dynasty, Hidden Sword Mountain and others wished they could pop their eyes out of their sockets. Each one had a face full of terror, unable to believe what they were seeing. Granny Shi actually stepped into the Saint Ancestor fourth layer in one go. This is the middle stage of the Saint Ancestor realm. Simply unbelievable and shocking to hear. No way? Granny, is this amazing? Even I was stunned. Indeed, everything went as I expected. The second drop of the primeval divine spring really broke through the natural moat, allowing her to touch the opportunity for sainthood once again. Worthy of being me. A peerless prodigy combining handsomeness and wisdom, strategizing and controlling everything. But I also truly didn't expect that Granny Shi would consecutively cross several realm layers, reaching the Saint Ancestor fourth layer. This is too scary, right? The effect of the primeval divine spring was actually powerful to this extent. Hard to imagine. The crowd raised their heads, looking up at the figure of the old woman in the sky above. At this time she had a profounder cultivation than many people present here. This made people feel incomparably terrified. And right under their watchful eyes, the sky full of anomalies slowly dissipated. The unparalleled saintly pressure was also retracted by Granny Shi. She restored her original rustic and plain appearance, descending from high above. But in the eyes of the crowd, the old woman at this moment had already become unfathomable. Her aura was obscure, deep as an abyss, making people feel awe for no reason. Granny, Su Qingshuang and Jiang Wushu were the first to react, impatiently going up to welcome her. The husband and wife were excited to the extreme. Granny Shi successfully advanced, and even broke through to the fourth layer. Not only did her strength increase countless times, but most importantly, for at least the next 100,000 years or more, she would never have to worry about the issue of her lifespan again. Seeing the pleasantly surprised looks of the couple, Granny Shi also couldn't help but feel incredibly excited. The Saint Ancestor realm is indeed wonderfully profound. This old body has lived for over 100,000 years, and could never see through it. I didn't expect. Speaking to the end, Shi Wuqing's face was covered in old tears, sighing with boundless emotion. Countless years of dedication, always limited by her innate talent, unable to aspire to the highest peak. This was her biggest regret. In recent years, with her life running out, she had long let go of her obsession, or rather accepted her fate. But who would have thought? Just because of 2 drops of an unknown divine liquid, not only was she brought back to life, but she also broke through to the saint realm in one fell swoop. This made her sigh and lament. Little fellow, you are truly my fated lucky star. Granny Shi was moved, her teary eyes blurry, affectionately stroking the little fellow's head. All of this was given by this little thing. It was also because of him that she came to the profound frost cave heaven that day. It seems all of this is destined by fate. This little fellow is the greatest blessing in Shi Wuqing's life. And at this time, the rest of the powerhouses finally recovered from their shock, scrambling to speak up, congratulating Granny Shi on advancing to Saint Ancestor. Worthy of celebration. Truly worthy of celebration. The Emperor's son is truly a divine person. 1 drop of divine liquid allowed Granny Shi's physical body to be remade, renewing her vitality. Another drop of divine liquid actually created a Saint Ancestor powerhouse on the spot. And a middle stage one at that. Unbelievable. Unthinkable. In this massive world, does such a divine object truly exist? The crowd shouted loudly, making a noisy mess. It wasn't just to congratulate Granny Shi on her advancement, but more importantly, they were shocked by the divine liquid brought out by the Emperor's son. They were horrified by it. One by one, looking at the infant, covered in faint divine brilliance in frost heavenly Emperor's arms. Their expressions throbbed. This little thing has truly refreshed their cognition time and time again. No one dared to imagine that there was such divine liquid in this world. He only used 2 drops. I'm afraid even an emperor-grade spiritual medicine, rarely seen in countless years, might not necessarily have such efficacy, right? The most incomprehensible thing is, the Emperor's son was just born. Where exactly did he get this from? It couldn't really be born with him from the womb, right? And looking at his posture, he probably hasn't used it all up. There must definitely be more. How could this not leave people speechless? How could it not make people envious? Even Jiang Wushu suddenly shoved his large face right in front of Jiang Yuxian. You're really something, you brat. Confess honestly. How much more of that divine liquid do you have? He looked at his son with a deep smile, his heart full of eagerness and hope. Jiang Yuxian instantly shivered. Gone. This time it's really gone. He stared at his dad cautiously. Good grief. Still scheming for my primeval divine spring. I only had 10 drops in total. After several rounds today, I've used up 4 drops. This consumption is way too fast. I'm warning you, Dad. Don't stare at it covetously anymore. When it's truly needed, I'll naturally take it out. But normally don't even ask. If you ask, there's absolutely nothing. Jiang Yuxian stretched out his 2 hands, pressing them firmly against his dad's face. Seeing this, Su Qingshuang couldn't help but chuckle softly. Yuxian, this little fellow, is really quite protective of his wealth. Jiang Wushu also felt helpless. No choice. The little guy doesn't want to say. He can't possibly force a confession, right? I, Jiang Wushu, am a dignified Saint Ancestor peak expert. And a father. Can I do such a thing? Seeing his dad finally give up, Jiang Yuxian snorted coldly through his nose again. throwing him the back of his head. Today, a small half of the primeval divine spring was consumed. But he didn't feel a heartache at all. It was all used on his own relatives. It resolved a killing tribulation. Recovered his dad's source origin. And exchanged for a saint ancestor. It simply couldn't be a better deal. And just as the crowd was entirely excited, a voice suddenly rang out from nearby, causing the field to instantly fall dead silent. The Emperor's son, is he even human? Such a voice sounded in the field. The person speaking was the overlord sect master Su Quangren. When Granny Shi broke through, he Ji Quni the Jinghong Emperor and others had already gotten up and retreated a short distance away. They witnessed everything and couldn't help but marvel. Shocked to the absolute extreme, Su Quangren's inner thoughts blurted straight out. But the moment his words fell, he realized something was wrong. Beside him Ji Quni wished he could jump 3 feet high and cleave him alive. Why are you speaking up at a time like this? Frost Heavenly Emperor and Saint Ancestor Wushu are in high spirits right now. If they are in a great mood, they might spare our lives. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Isn't it good enough to just be a cowardly turtle? The moment you spoke you instantly ruined the enthusiastic atmosphere. Isn't this drawing fire upon yourself? Are you stupid? In an instant Ji Quni's thoughts raced like lightning, having the urge to die. Sure enough, the moment Su Quangren spoke, Jiang Wushu and the others instantly turned cold. Pairs of gazes swiped over to look at them. Originally everyone's faces were full of excitement, incredibly happy. But instantly, their faces became gloomy, looking as if they wanted to eat someone. Especially the Emperor's son. The smile on his small face vanished. Hostility emerged. And killing intent was chilling. Not speaking for a long while. I almost forgot about you bastards. Jiang Yuxian pointed his finger at the group of people, clamoring endlessly. Ji Quni was helpless, trying hard to squeeze out an ugly smile. He didn't expect the little guy to get even angrier. You old dog, you still can smile. Even if the King of Heaven comes today, you won't escape death. Jiang Yuxian bared his fangs and brandished his claws, wishing he could rush forward and tear Ji Quni's old face to shreds. You even dared to plot against my mom. If I don't make you pay the price in blood, how can the anger in my heart be appeased? Ji Quni the Jinghong Emperor and Su Quangren trembled in panic, shaking with fear. Originally not speaking was the best. But now, they had no choice but to speak up again. Congratulations to Frost Heavenly Emperor. Congratulations to Saint Ancestor Wushu. Today the Emperor's son descended to the mortal world. And a new saint has been established. It is truly a double blessing. This is the fortune of the great wilderness. The fortune of the human race. The whole world should celebrate together. Ji Quni forced himself to smile and speak. But Jiang Wushu and the others completely ignored him, only looking at him with indifferent gazes. Su Qingshuang stood aloof, speaking slowly. The crimes you committed today, even if this emperor annihilated your entire clans, it would not be an overreaction. Cold sweat rolled down Ji Quni the Jinghong Emperor and the others. They were terrified to the extreme. They knew deeply that Frost Heavenly Emperor would definitely not let them off easily. However, immediately following that, they heard her tone suddenly change. But considering that your ancestors all once shed their blood and sacrificed their lives for the 3,000 Dao realms, this emperor can be lenient and spare your lives. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned in place. The people from Hidden Sword Mountain Jade Cauldron Holy Land Ask Immortal Sect and others immediately became anxious. Frost Heavenly Emperor, you must not. These people are extremely wicked and audacious. They absolutely cannot be let off lightly. If you let them go, how will you answer to the people of the world? The many saint ancestors who fell here today. How can they rest in peace in the netherworld? They shouted ceaselessly, burning with rage, absolutely not wanting to forgive these people easily. But on the opposite side, Ji Quni the Jinghong Emperor, Su Quangren and others were dumbstruck. They never expected in a million years that the Frost Heavenly Emperor would actually spare their lives. What was originally a certain death situation unexpectedly ushered in a turnaround. It is truly a massive surprise. Everyone knew their lives were saved. Once Emperor Shuang spoke, there was absolutely no reason to go back on her word. But before the pleasant surprise in their hearts could spread, they heard that crisp female voice ring out again. However, Su Qingshuang spoke coldly, waving her hand to signal Jian Lingtian and the others to stay calm. Her gaze swept across the crowd one by one, and finally landed on Ji Quni. Ji Quni. As the chief culprit. You intended to scheme against this emperor. Previously, you even used all kinds of sophistry, vainly attempting to confuse the public, coercing with the righteous cause of the human race. With this emperor's majesty before you, there is absolutely no reason to spare you. Hearing these words, Ji Quni's expression instantly froze on his face. His whole person felt as if falling into an abyss. In just an instant, he dropped to his knees in the void with a thud, kowtowing endlessly. Emperor Shuang, spare my life. As long as you leave me a way out. I am willing to serve the Xuanshuang cave heaven like a dog or horse from now on, and will not refuse even 10,000 deaths. His crying and shouting shook the heavens, snot and tears smearing his face. But Su Qingshuang's face remained utterly cold and stern, without the slightest change in expression. He who commits many injustices is doomed to perish. You outsmarted yourself. Pay the price for your actions. Just as her voice fell, a fiercely peerless aura rippled through the void. It was as if a world-grinding divine disk appeared between heaven and earth, slowly rotating. Buzz buzz buzz. Accompanied by a teeth-aching roar, the wailing and howling abruptly stopped. Ji Quni's figure was like a soybean inside a grinding stone. In just an instant he was ground into fine powder, turning into curling blue smoke. With a blow of the breeze, it dissipated between heaven and earth, destroyed in body and soul. Patriarch. The people of the immortal Ji family wanted to cry out in pain, but upon opening their mouths, only dry and hoarse voices came out. Seeing this scene, the people of the Jinghong divine dynasty, the immortal Mu family, and the overlord sect were also struck with extreme trepidation. Emperor Shuang's methods were domineering and decisive, so formidable that it made people tremble. A peak expert of the 9th layer of the holy ancestor realm was killed just like that, dying formlessly, without even leaving a corpse behind. And at this time, Su Qingshuang's gaze returned to these people. As for the rest of you, the death penalty can be avoided, but living punishment is inescapable. I limit you to hand over your clan-suppressing holy artifacts within 3 days. The holy ancestors of each family must not step a single foot into the mortal world for 300 years. If there is even half a bit of defiance, this emperor will absolutely not tolerate it. Su Qingshuang said coldly. Just as she finished speaking, she stretched out her finger and gently swiped in the void. Item after item appeared within the spatial rift, which were exactly the holy artifacts and other items left by Ji Quni. Among them was the clan-suppressing holy artifact of the immortal Ji family, the Thousand Mechanisms Pagoda. Su Qingshuang reached out her hand, and that pitch-black small pagoda spun, radiating bursts of brilliance, landing in the palm of her hand. All the remaining holy artifacts and precious medicines were also entirely collected by her. The hearts of the Jinghong Emperor Su Quangren and the others turned to dead ashes, handing over the clan-suppressing holy artifacts, and having all the holy ancestors of each family not step half a foot out of their doors for 300 years. In other words, they would lose their respective strongest foundations for 300 years. Without holy ancestors moving around outside, the various great opportunities that appear in the great wasteland world will no longer have anything to do with them. The younger generation in their families with powerful talents will also not be able to have holy ancestors personally act as Tao protectors. The dangers they will face by then are self-evident. This punishment is too ruthless. It's simply more unbearable than killing them. But at this moment, who would dare to say half a word of no? The majesty of a heavenly emperor cannot be defied. Many thanks to Emperor Shuang for showing extrajudicial mercy. We respectfully obey the heavenly emperor's decree. Everyone gave a bitter smile and kowtowed in thanks in unison. Jiang Yuxian looked at them and couldn't help but snort coldly. A bunch of dog things. This is really letting you off too easy. But this matter is not over. When I walk through the 3,000 Tao realms in the future, I will definitely go to your families and sit for a good while, he said with a cold face. Regarding such a result, the people from the Hidden Sword Mountain, the Huanchu Holy Land, the Fulong Divine Dynasty and others were also considered reluctantly satisfied. They didn't say anything more. Watching the Jinghong Emperor Su Quangren and the people of the Mu and Ji families turn around, about to leave, it was right at this moment that suddenly a verdant divine radiance swirled open, precious light overflowing everywhere, a fragrant scent assaulting the nostrils, making people feel intoxicated upon smelling it. Jiang Yuxian also noticed the commotion at the first moment. He was immediately pleasantly surprised. Great! The Tao comprehension tea has matured. Jiang Yuxian's eyes suddenly lit up. Not only him. The others present also instantly noticed the commotion, including the Jinghong Emperor Su Kuangren, and the people of the immortal Ji and Mu families who were about to retreat. All unconsciously paused their footsteps and looked back. Pairs of eyes all looked toward the small tree rooted in the ruins. At this time the ancient Tao comprehension tea tree had already grown to be more than a person's height, and over a foot thick. The trunk was twisted and knotted. The old bark cracked open, like pieces of dragon scales hanging on it. The entire small tree was shrouded in a hazy radiance. In the void, invisible ripples spread outward. A peaceful and tranquil atmosphere pervaded, making people's minds intoxicated, having an urge to comprehend the Tao right on the spot. Legend has it that meditating and cultivating under the ancient Tao comprehension tea tree can make one day of effort equal to 10 days. This old man didn't quite believe it at first. But now, an old man from the Huanchu Holy Land said with dry lips. The others also nodded one after another. The ancient Tao comprehension tea tree is an immortal divine root, rarely seen since ancient times. What is recorded in ancient texts has only ever appeared in the primeval era. In today's world, it is even more unheard of. But right now there is one growing right in front of them, making people amazed and shocked in their hearts. That small tree wasn't tall or sturdy, and there were only 108 leaves on the branches. But it didn't look bare at all, simply because every single leaf was releasing rosy light, swaying and glowing radiantly, colorful and vibrant. The whole tree crystal clear. 108 tea leaves, with different shapes and colors. Some were shaped like true dragons, with robust postures, vigorous and powerful. Some were exactly like heavenly phoenixes, flapping their wings to soar, spitting out divine flames. There were also some that grew into the shape of 8 trigrams divine cauldrons, bronze bells, clouds, mountain ranges, and other forms. Lifelike. All sorts of strange and wonderful shapes. Too many to enumerate. And this was exactly the sign that the Tao comprehension tea had matured. It seems that old dog Ji's 2 kinds of holy medicines are actually quite useful to make the Tao comprehension tea mature so quickly. Jiang Yuxian revealed a smile, extremely satisfied. But before he could make a move, he saw on the branches of the tea tree a leaf suddenly burst forth with dazzling brilliance. And then this leaf shot up into the sky, instantly escaping into the void and disappearing. Everyone collectively blanked out for a moment. Jiang Yuxian was also stunned. But very quickly he understood. After the Tao comprehension tea matures every year, if it is not picked in time, it will leave the branch and fly away. The true meaning of the great Tao nurtured within will also return to between heaven and earth, leaving no traces behind. After a brief moment of shock, Jiang Yuxian immediately tugged on his mom's sleeve, anxiously crying out loud. Mom, pick them quickly. Don't let them run away. He was truly extremely anxious. How could this be allowed? He had painstakingly used 2 holy medicines to catalyze the Tao comprehension tea. If they all ran away, wouldn't that be a massive loss? But right now, Jiang Yuxian himself did not have the ability to immobilize the Tao comprehension tea. But it didn't matter. I have my mom. There was absolutely no need for his reminder. Su Qingshuang also took action at the very first moment. She lightly raised her plain hand, slightly spreading her 5 fingers, and a burst of miraculous power erupted out. Immediately after, over 100 Tao comprehension tea leaves detached from the branches on their own, turning into streams of light and flying into her palm. Under the restrictions binding, all the tea leaves quietly appeared, held in hand as a thick stack, a rich and fragrant scent blowing against the face. Jiang Yuxian squinted his big eyes and took a deep breath, suddenly feeling infatuated in mind and spirit, his whole person feeling like it was about to float up. Shuanger, let me take a look quickly. Jiang Wushu and Granny, she also immediately leaned forward, each picking up a leaf to study carefully. Jian Ling Tian, He Mengchong Di Batian Di, Wu Shuang the Huanchu Holy Lord and the others also instantly gathered around. Everyone was trying hard to absorb the fragrance wafting from the tea leaves. The tea aroma overflowed all around. Tao resonance spread, making one feel entirely comfortable, almost making their souls leave their bodies. And also like suddenly comprehending profound methods. It truly made one's mind ripple with excitement. Is this the Tao comprehension tea? On every single tea leaf, The principles of heaven and earth are actually engraved. And the true meaning of the great Tao. Unbelievable, unbelievable. The profoundness of heaven and earth. The magnificence of the great Tao. The wonder of creation. In this world, there actually really are such divine items. Excluding the leaf that escaped. There are 107 tea leaves remaining. That means 107 kinds of Tao. A group of people marveled repeatedly, and said one after another. If one could be fortunate enough to drink a cup of this divine tea, there would definitely be unexpected harvests. For a time everyone's eyes were filled with burning passion. Each one stood there. Their throats swallowing non-stop. Just short of drooling. And not far away, the Jinghong Emperor Su Kuangren, and the roughly 20 others, were also craning their necks, wanting to see exactly what it was. But they didn't dare to step forward. The Emperor's son is truly a divine person. To actually have such a divine item. He was just born. Where on earth did he get the ancient Tao comprehension tea tree? Gulp. The jade tripod holy lord He Mengchong spoke in astonishment. And at the end of his sentence, actually swallowed his saliva. It wouldn't have mattered if he just swallowed once. But it led Di Batian Di Wushuang the Huanchu holy lord and others to closely follow suit. Gulp gulp. The scene instantly filled with the sound of swallowing saliva. Everyone's eyes looked as if they were going to spew fire. Craving it intensely. Looking at their appearances. Jiang Yuxian almost burst out laughing. This bunch of guys, each one staring with wide anime-like eyes, were practically writing the word covet on their faces. Okay? You are all holy ancestors. The utmost powerful beings of the great wasteland world. Where did your transcendent MT Tai collapsing before you without changing your expression expert image go? Could you have a little bit of grace, hey? Gulp. At a time like this, even Jian Ling Tian couldn't stay calm. His throat slid with difficulty. The Tao comprehension tea nurtures the Tao, especially for powerful cultivators. It is an unimaginable supreme treasure. As long as one drinks a cup, there is a chance to comprehend the true meaning within, allowing one to benefit endlessly. Even though everyone was a holy ancestor, they couldn't resist this kind of temptation. If it had been discovered elsewhere, they would have taken action to snatch it long ago at this moment. But this was after all the Emperor's son's possession. A bunch of old guys whose ages were counted in the tens of thousands were too embarrassed to shamelessly ask for it. They all fell into an awkward dilemma of neither being able to advance nor retreat. Jiang Yuxian looked at them with a beaming smile. He suddenly reached out his hand and took all the tea leaves from his mom. Then he took out 2 leaves and handed them to an old man from the Jade Tripod Holy Land. The white-haired old man was stunned all at once, the greedy expression on his face freezing. The Emperor's son is giving this to me? He asked in disbelief. There was no way to easily believe this. This was Tao comprehension tea. And it was 2 leaves. Such a treasure. The Emperor's son is just giving it to himself just like that? Real or fake? The rest of the people also simultaneously lost their voices, looking at each other. Is the Emperor's son being serious? Seeing everyone's reactions, Jiang Yuxian couldn't help but roll his eyes. Of course it's for you. Hurry up and take it. He slapped the 2 tea leaves into the old man's hand in one swift motion. Afterward he distributed them to the rest of the people one by one. Come come come. A share for everyone who sees it. 2 leaves per person. Whoever wants them step forward and take them yourself. If you miss it there won't be any more. Jiang Yuxian shouted with his tender voice. The miraculous thing was, at this moment the crowd actually understood his meaning. The experts' expressions were wooden. Until they held the Tao comprehension tea in their hands. They still hadn't quite reacted. The more than 20 holy ancestors were dumbfounded for a long while. All completely dumbstruck. It's really for us. Pairs of eyes stared blankly at Jiang Yuxian, still unable to believe it. Until the little guy in the swaddling clothes nodded again to confirm. Did they gradually come back to their senses? The group of people looked at each other. And then an unparalleled surge of ecstasy welled up in their hearts. The faces of every single old guy instantly turned bright red. Yelling and screaming excitedly. Tao comprehension tea. This is Tao comprehension tea. The Emperor's son really bestowed Tao comprehension tea upon this old man. How could I be so fortunate to obtain this primeval divine tea? This saint could not have imagined under any circumstances that there would be such good fortune. A group of holy ancestors spat as they spoke, wishing they could jump up, holding it with both hands like a precious treasure. Excited like children. Is there a need to be this happy? looking at their appearances. Jiang Yuxian couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. But you really have to say, this bunch of old guys who have lived for countless years actually look quite cute right now. Next to them Su Qingshuang, Jiang Wushu, and Granny Shi couldn't help but laugh at this time as well. Jiang Wushu reached out and rubbed Jiang Yuxian's head. You brat. You're quite good at dealing with people, huh? They heard him say with a smile. This little thing gave away nearly half the tea leaves as soon as he made a move, without even blinking an eye. And not far away, the people from the Jinghong Divine Dynasty, Overlord Sect, Mu family, Ji family, and others likewise saw all of this in their eyes. The hearts of these 20+ people were indescribably bitter. Tao comprehension tea is a supreme treasure beyond the ordinary, even more terrifying than holy medicines, making people covet it. But there was no share for them. One wrong move loses the whole game. The Jinghong Emperor smiled bitterly. The others also had an unspeakable sour and bitter taste in their hearts, beyond words. If they had followed Emperor Shuang's command and fought fairly and squarely against the eternal blood hell, they definitely wouldn't have been left out of the Tao comprehension tea. Now look. Not only could they not obtain this supreme treasure, they couldn't even keep their own families' clan-suppressing holy artifacts, and were also grounded for 300 years. If they had known this earlier, why act as they did in the beginning? Su Kuangren let out a long sigh, truly suffering a double loss. If they hadn't harbored ulterior motives, intending to strike against Emperor Shuang, how would they have ended up in this state? At this very moment, the experts of the several families truly regretted their original actions. Of all the things they shouldn't have done, they absolutely shouldn't have listened to Ji Qunyi's nonsense. Let's go. A moment later, the group of people, amid a deep sense of loss, stepped into the void and quietly retreated. And at the original spot, Su Qingshuang, Jiang Yuxian, and the others only glanced lightly, without paying too much attention. After quite a while, the experts of the Hidden Sword Mountain, Huanshu Holy Land, Jade Tripod Holy Land, and others finally gradually recovered from their excitement. Many thanks to the Emperor's son for bestowing the tea. We are endlessly grateful. Everyone gave countless thanks and bowed in salute. 2 Tao comprehension tea leaves per person gave them a great chance to go a step further on the path of cultivation. This is a massive favor. But Su Qingshuang held Jiang Yuxian and turned sideways to avoid the crowd's courtesy. Jiang Wushu even stepped forward and gave them a deep bow. In the Xuanshuang Cave Heaven's crisis today, thanks to these people's full support, to stall the eternal blood hell and hold on until Su Qingshuang took action, they finally managed to safely survive this tribulation. Toward these several holy lands and great sects, the husband and wife were extremely grateful, and could even be said to be unable to repay them. A mere 2 leaves of Tao comprehension tea. How could it offset it all? One must know that at this time every one of them carried considerable injuries. Among their respective factions there were holy ancestors who fell. This was an extremely heavy price. 6 or 7 holy ancestors died in a single great battle, making heaven and earth grieve together. Especially for the Broken Sword Pavilion, 7 Stars Hall, and Heavenly River Valley, these 3 weaker factions, Xiahan Li Changhe and Shui Wuyang, were all the only holy ancestors in their respective sects. Their annihilation here, for the sects behind them, was truly like a heaven-supporting pillar collapsing with a crash. Wait until I grow up a bit more in a few years. Then I'll personally visit their doors to repay them. Jiang Yuxian secretly memorized those great sects in his heart. In the future I must definitely find an opportunity to make a trip to those factions. Not long after, Jian Ling Tian, He Mengchong Chu Feixian Di Batian, and the others took their leave. They needed to go back to recuperate from their injuries. I was just born, and my home is gone. In his swaddling clothes, Jiang Yuxian looked at the completely unrecognizable Xuanshuang Cave Heaven, feeling helpless. Originally as the Emperor's son, with his birth this time, the prominent figures of the 3,000 Tao realms would all visit to congratulate and present heavy gifts. But after today's battle, multiple holy ancestors had fallen. Throwing a grand banquet at this time was indeed not very appropriate. Moreover, the reconstruction of the Xuanshuang Cave Heaven still needed some time. Let's go to the ancient heaven sect. A moment later Jiang Wushu said this. Su Qingshuang also nodded. The ancient heaven sect was the master sect of the couple. It was equivalent to a second home. Before the Xuanshuang Cave Heaven's repairs were completed, that place was indeed a good spot to settle down. The family no longer delayed. After sending messages to Jiang Taihang, Su Qingtian, and the others, they stepped into the spatial channel and disappeared. Today's great battle had already thoroughly concluded. But for the 3,000 Dao realms, this storm would probably take a long time to subside. The birth of the Emperor's son, the annihilation of the eternal blood hell, the return of Xue Honglu, the schemes of the several aristocratic families and divine dynasties, Shi Wuqing's advancement to holy ancestor, and so on, all these things would continue to brew, causing countless people to be shocked. Jiang Yuxian's family also left the Xuanshuang cave heaven. A great battle had made their home completely unrecognizable, and it needed to be rebuilt before they could move in. Su Qingshuang and Jiang Wushu brought Jiang Yuxian and Granny Shi, and headed toward the Ancient Heaven sect. The Ancient Heaven sect was located in the northern eastern part of the 3,000 Dao realms, separated from the Wuxiu realm by a dozen or so great realms. The family took their time without rushing, not hurrying on their journey. It took them 5 or 6 days to arrive. And during this period, another major event that caught everyone's attention happened in the 3,000 Dao realms. On this day, in the distant Chongqing realm, countless people gathered. Raising their heads to look at the sky, they saw 9 massive golden discs slowly rising, descending upon the firmament. Every single disc was 10,000 zhang massive, radiant and dazzling, releasing terrifyingly peerless divine power. Infinite coercion billowed majestically, infiltrating every inch of space. The divine rays of the blazing sun in the sky were completely suppressed. These were the 9 divine wheels of a cultivator, representing the 9th layer of the divine wheel realm. But not long after, they heard an extremely terrifying booming sound suddenly erupt between heaven and earth. Rumble, rumble. It was as if the apocalypse had arrived. The heavens were in turmoil. The earth trembled. It was as if a formless giant hand had grabbed onto this patch of heaven and earth and shook it viciously. The several hundred great realms surrounding the Chongqing realm all felt the intense vibrations. The void was almost twisting and deforming. Who knew how many cultivators' minds rippled? Extremely horrified, everyone looked toward the source of the commotion. Situated there was an incomparably magnificent palace. It was exactly the location of the Chongqing realm's overlord, the heaven-shaking palace. This was also a supreme great sect with a long-standing inheritance. Before everyone could even marvel at it, amidst the infinite booming sounds, abruptly another dazzling and peerless golden disc shot up into the sky from within the palace. Boom, boom, boom. It was as if a world-grinding divine disc had appeared, crushing heaven and earth, letting out an extremely terrifying tremor. Finally that golden disc ascended into the 9 heavens, together with the other 9 divine wheels, hanging above the blue skies, like 10 suns in the sky, bobbing up and down, illuminating the world. Dozens to hundreds of great realms around all witnessed such a terrifying scene. Countless cultivators were sensationally moved by it. 10 divine wheels. How could someone open 10 divine wheels? How is this possible? Isn't that just a rumor existing only in the primeval era? How could anyone achieve it? Through the ages, all the heavenly emperor experts couldn't reach such a state. Is this real? Who knew how many people were alarmed? Extremely terrified. Scared to death. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost. Too terrifying. Someone actually opened the legendary 10 divine wheels. That is a legend existing only in the primeval era. The 3,000 Dao realms have been passed down for countless years, and no one has ever achieved it. Even the heavenly emperors of past generations. Similarly, no one could attain it. But today, they witnessed it with their own eyes. This is simply unimaginable. It's the commotion from the heaven-shaking palace. The young palace master Dai Wangyang. It's definitely him. 5 years ago he was already at the 9th layer of the divine wheel realm. But he resolved to walk the path of invincibility. To open the 10 divine wheels. He forcefully stayed in the divine wheel realm for 5 years. I didn't expect he actually did it. Everyone seeing this scene were all dumbfounded, staring tongue-tied. Dai Wangyang, young palace master of the heaven-shaking palace, possessing peerless innate talent. There were many rumors circulating about him around the Chongqing realm. 5 years ago, he opened 9 divine wheels at the age of 5. But he didn't charge toward the higher spirit-nurturing realm. Instead he forcibly remained at this level for a full 5 years. Because he harbored grand ambitions, swearing to become the #1 person through the ages, to break through the cage, trample over the shackles, and open the 10th divine wheel. Almost no one was optimistic about him. 10 divine wheels dominate eternity. surpassing the extreme and looking down on everything. If one can reach this state, they can almost become a supreme sovereign, standing shoulder to shoulder with primeval sages. This is a path of invincibility. Even many people within the heaven-shaking palace had complaints about it. But who could have thought that right on this day? He actually succeeded. For a time, this news was like a violent storm, rapidly spreading outwards. The massive 3,000 Dao realms were shaken by it. They originally thought that before the emperor's son was born, creating a new extreme realm of bone tempering was already scary enough. Who would have expected that Dai Wangyang, polishing his sword for 5 years, had an epiphany in one morning, and personally forged the invincible path? These two could be called the two extreme monstrous geniuses of the current age, hard to produce in 10,000 years. Too terrifying. For no apparent reason, all cultivators felt an inexplicable horror. At first, a severing spirit sword body made the world boil. And as the emperor's son displayed various extraordinary traits, the world thought that in the future the 3,000 Dao realms would probably be his world alone. But looking at it now, this young palace master of the heaven-shaking palace, Dai Wangyang, might have a chance to compete with the emperor's son in the future. Who knows? One must know. He is still only 10 years old right now. The ancient heaven sect was located in the Liang realm in the northern eastern part of the 3,000 Dao realms, separated from the Wuxiu realm by dozens of great realms. In the past, the ancient heaven sect only ranked outside the top 10 in the Liang realm. In the 3,000 Dao realms, similar factions were as numerous as an ox's hairs. Compared to the many holy lands and great sects, the difference was like clouds and mud. But now, the ancient heaven sect was not what it used to be. One must know that standing behind it was the current era's only heavenly emperor expert. Over the past few centuries, the ancient heaven sect's territory had expanded 100 times, occupying a range of 10,000 miles, gathering multiple earth dragon veins. The spiritual energy within the sect was rich. Precious plants were numerous, and spirit springs were everywhere. Back then there wasn't even a single holy ancestor realm expert. But today there were already 2 older generation figures, with the help of Su Qingshuang and Jiang Wuxiu, who had successfully advanced. Right now the only thing lacking was the foundation accumulated over countless years. But this was also merely a matter of time. Moon-gazing peak was one of the 108 peaks of the ancient heaven sect. From afar it looked like a crescent moon. But when looking from close up, it seemed like an azure dragon raising its head. Its momentum was magnificent, with an unparalleled vigorous oppressive feeling rushing to the face. Large patches of white clouds lingered and floated around the mountainside, setting off the top to look like a fairyland. Su Qingshuang's residence from back in the day was right at the mountaintop. There were only a few simple houses. The back mountain was entirely old woods and ancient trees. Small springs tinkling, and one could faintly see spirit apes sleeping, jade rabbits appearing, and white cranes dancing. Everything demonstrated quietness and tranquility. This time Jiang Yuxian's family came to the ancient heaven sect, and stayed right on the moon-gazing peak. Their arrival was not widely publicized. Only some high-ranking sect officials and close relations came to visit for a while, and then stopped disturbing them. The family was happy and harmonious. It's just that Jiang Yuxian caused some headaches. He was no ordinary infant. He didn't need to be held in arms at all. After putting on clothes, it was like he equipped a full set of divine gear. From morning till night he didn't stop for a single moment. He jumped up and down all over the moon-gazing peak, like a dragon swimming in the sea, or a tiger entering the deep mountains. With a kick of his small legs, the mountain rocks and the earth would crack open. His tiny body bounced back and forth between the small hilltops. The spirit apes in the back mountain under his chase were so exhausted they foamed at the mouth. After a flock of white cranes flew into the sky, they refused to come down even if beaten to death. Many jade rabbits and small beasts didn't even dare to show their heads, hiding in their caves shivering. Granny Shi watched this scene dotingly, and would occasionally call out, "Yuxian, be careful. Don't bump yourself." Su Qingshuang meanwhile rubbed her forehead with her jade hand, feeling utterly helpless. Jiang Wuxiu's face kept twitching, 2 dark lines dropping on his face. What dragon swimming in the sea, or tiger entering the deep mountains? This is clearly a vicious dog let out of its cage, okay? Ever since Yuxian this little thing arrived. When did those spirit beasts on moon-gazing peak have a moment of peace? It's still better after being born. Being in my mother's womb for so long almost suffocated me. Jiang Yuxian was endlessly happy. Everything in the cultivation world to him was very novel. Now that he finally saw it with his own eyes. Of course he had to properly broaden his horizons. By the way, he could also carefully experience his current strength. And see exactly how powerful the 9th layer of the Heavenly Dipper realm really was. Of course Jiang Yuxian's frolicking didn't last for many days. A few days later, Jiang Taihang, Su Yunfeng, Su Qingyu and the others hurried over. The family was finally neat and complete, reuniting here. And Jiang Yuxian also welcomed the first fatal blow of his life. Ha ha ha, worthy of being my nephew, he looks like me. Amidst loud laughter, Su Qingtian grabbed the little guy in one motion and stripped off his little clothes. Su Qingtian grinned happily, extended a finger, and happily flicked Jiang Yuxian's critical part. So fun. The more he flicked the happier he got. Beaming with joy. Quickly let me go. Jiang Yuxian howled. But no matter what, he couldn't escape his uncle's demonic clutches. In the end he truly had no other way. A silver line shot out, almost spraying all over Su Qingtian's face. Only then did he break free, and ran away without a trace in a flash. Looking at the large wet patch on Su Qingtian's chest, Jiang Taihang, Su Yunfeng, and the others laughed so hard they couldn't close their mouths. The family was happy and harmonious. A few days passed. At the same time, news from the outside was also transmitted in at the first moment. The heaven-shaking palace actually produced 10 divine wheels. Unbelievable. Granny Shisu, Qingtian, Jiang Taihang, and the others all let out such exclamations of praise. Even Su Qingshuang and Jiang Wushu also felt somewhat unable to believe it. Every single layer of cultivation realm is a shackle of heaven and earth. How could it be so easily broken? With their innate talents back in the day, even they failed to achieve it. 10 divine wheels can indeed be called an unprecedented event through the ages. The last time it appeared has to be traced back to the primeval period recorded in ancient texts. This makes it impossible for people not to marvel at it. Perhaps the appearance of the 10 divine wheels user is only just the beginning. After Su Qingshuang pondered for a long time, she said this sentence. Hearing this, Jiang Wushu couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. These words, Jiang Yuxian naturally also heard in his ears. Mom's meaning is that an even more complex and majestic golden age is about to arrive. At this time he sat by the table like an adult, gnawing on a spirit fruit. In his heart Jiang Yuxian was actually somewhat looking forward to it. What exactly the scene of the so-called golden age would be. That 10 divine wheels user. One day I can go and meet him for a bit. Speaking of which, it is also time for me to break through to the divine wheel realm. Jiang Yuxian thought this in his heart. Right at this moment, the system's voice rang out again. New mission issued. The 10 divine wheels user, unique through eternity, has extraordinary talent. As the Emperor's son, the host should naturally not be weaker than others. Please complete the mission objective. Within 6 months, reach the 10th layer of the divine wheel realm. Mission reward. The Xing movement word secret. Jiang Yuxian immediately widened his eyes on the spot. The system actually wanted him to cultivate 10 divine wheels. Of course this wasn't the important part. The most important part was, the time was only 6 months. That is half a year. Are you freaking serious? Jiang Yuxian roared wildly, yelling and babbling aloud. That guy from the heaven-shaking palace spent a full 5 years. And that's not even counting the time spent on the first 9 layers. Coming to me, it suddenly shrinks by more than 10 times. My physique before being born had already gone through 1,000 temperings and 100 refinements, and completely shed my mortal body and exchanged my bones. I can definitely surpass countless ancient sages. Not to mention I also have the heaven-swallowing demonic art, and the divine elephant-suppressing prison strength. I'm not completely without confidence in reaching 10 divine wheels. But to cultivate it in half a year. This damn dog system. How can this kind of thing be a child's play? However, as soon as he saw the reward, Jiang Yuxian packed away his bellyful of complaints. The Shing word secret. One of the 9 secrets. This is a supreme secret method, representing the world's absolute pinnacle of movement. Not only does it grant the world's extreme speed, it also allows one to go up to the blue heavens and down to the yellow springs, having nowhere one cannot go. Even if a 10-directional killing array is set up, it would exist in name only. Once this secret method is cultivated, any place can be entered like an uninhabited land. reaching the extreme of speed. It even becomes the evolution of time. Of course, cultivating the Shing word secret is also not easy. But Jiang Yuxian still wanted it very much. Half a year it is. This Shing word secret. I definitely must have. Jiang Yuxian's small face suddenly turned entirely serious. He fiercely slammed a palm down. With a boom, the table in front of him instantly turned into fine powder. Immediately after, he saw his dad's eyes dart over in a glare. This time was exactly Jiang Wushu's shift to take care of the baby. Right near Jiang Yuxian. Hearing the commotion, Jiang Wushu immediately glared. "You brat, what kind of trouble are you causing again?" He clearly heard just now Jiang Yuxian making weird wailing noises for a while, sounding like he was cursing and swearing. And suddenly, he shattered the table with a slap. "Can't you just stop for a moment?" As he spoke, Jiang Wushu took large strides forward and lifted Jiang Yuxian up in one grab. He raised his hand about to smack his butt. This little guy is too rowdy. He must be properly disciplined to let him know what the majesty of a father is. However, before he could strike, he saw Jiang Yuxian turn his head and shout toward the house behind him. "Mom! Dad is hitting me!" Right now his voice was still milky and childish, his pronunciation blurry, but some simple words the several relatives could slightly understand a bit. This shout was a big deal. It was instantly like poking a hornet's nest. With a swish, Su Qingshuang's figure condensed and appeared in front of him. She actually used her cultivation to break through the void and arrive. It was just that before Su Qingshuang could speak, two loud shouts transmitted over from two different directions. "Jiang Wushu, what do you think you're doing? Quickly put my grandson down." At the same time these two voices fell, two figures immediately descended. It was exactly the two grandpas, Su Yunfeng and Jiang Taihang. The two of them each raised a large palm, releasing a luster like divine iron, posing to beat someone up. Jiang Wushu shivered all over, scared into taking several steps back. The expression on his face froze for a moment, and then he looked at his wife next to him and the two fathers, revealing an awkward smile. "What did Yuxian do? You wanted to hit him again?" Su Qingshuang snatched Jiang Yuxian from his hands, holding him in her arms with endless doting. No. How could I hit Yuxian? He just smashed the table earlier. I wanted to see if his hand hurt." Jiang Wushu flashed a mouth of white teeth at the three of them, his face full of flattery. Hearing this, Jiang Yuxian giggled and laughed, acting just like a little rooster that had just laid an egg. His little eyes even shot a teasing glance at his dad, as if to say, "Dad, oh dad, you're way too cowardly, right?" Just this alone angered Jiang Wushu enough to choke. He glared back fiercely. "You little brat. What kind of look is that?" Seeing Jiang Wushu like this, Jiang Taihang and Su Yunfeng simultaneously gave a heavy humph, scaring him into shrinking his neck. His heart, full of resentment, was then replaced by deep loneliness. Jiang Wushu screamed internally, "My own son. I don't even have the right to beat him?" His gaze turned back to his own father. "Back when I was young, I didn't suffer any less of your beatings. How come when it's my turn to be a father it's not allowed? What kind of world is this? Too much. When will I, Jiang Wushu, in this family, finally be able to stand up?" He was angry for a moment, and resentful the next. But Su Qingshuang and the other two didn't even shoot him another glance. They turned their heads and went to tease the little guy. "Mom, I want to start going into seclusion to cultivate." After playing around for a while, Jiang Yuxian spoke again with his tender voice. At the same time, within his tiny body, majestic power began to operate with a boom. Vigorous auras surged endlessly. Spiritual energy turned into lightning, striking horizontally and vertically within his martial meridians, blooming with incomparably terrifying fluctuations. The spiritual energy on moon-gazing peak rolled over and was entirely absorbed into his body. 840 million giant elephant seeds roared simultaneously, causing his tiny body to glow with divine light. With glorious might, Jiang Yuxian was keeping the newly arrived mission in mind. Only half a year's time to cultivate to the 10th layer of the divine wheel realm. This was an incomparably difficult challenge. He couldn't afford to delay. Why did he suddenly start cultivating? Is Yuxian preparing to break through to the divine wheel realm? Everyone present couldn't help but marvel. Very obviously, this little thing was about to start cultivating again. But it also makes sense. Yuxian reached the 9th layer of the heavenly dipper realm a few months ago. Later he even tinkered out a body tempering technique that made every cell in his body undergo a transformation, accumulating infinite spiritual energy. His strength had also risen to an incomparably terrifying level. I'm afraid ordinary spirit-nurturing realm cultivators might not necessarily be his opponents. And now, it is indeed time to break through the Divine Wheel realm. The Divine Wheel realm is not easy to break through. The little guy's cultivation this time will probably take some time. And the commotion caused by then will definitely not be small. It's better to find a place for him and set up restrictions, so he doesn't tear down moon-gazing peak when the time comes. Jiang Wushu suddenly said leisurely. Hearing these words, Su Qingshuang, Jiang Taihang, and the others all nodded heavily. The dark history of this little guy Yuxian. They all remembered it clearly. Cultivating in his mother's womb for a few months, he successively tore down his own home, tore down the Mu family, and tore down Granny Shi's home. They didn't want to see the ancient heaven sect follow in those footsteps. Very quickly, Su Qingshuang brought Jiang Yuxian into a cave dwelling on moon-gazing peak. This was the place she used for closed-door cultivation back in the day. It was enough for the little guy to use. Meanwhile, she also personally set up powerful restrictions to prevent too much commotion from happening when the time comes. From this day onwards, Jiang Yuxian officially entered a state of closed-door cultivation. The family suddenly felt quite a bit deserted. But for those spirit beasts in the back mountain, it was as if they had received a great salvation. Almost in tears. Finally, no one was chasing them up and down all day long. For the Shing word secret, I'll go all out for half a year. Inside the cave dwelling, Jiang Yuxian sat with his eyes closed, muttering in his heart. There was no other way. The system's reward this time was still so tempting. Absolutely not to be missed. Even if time was tight, he must cultivate the 10 divine wheels within half a year. At present, Jiang Yuxian had already grasped a lot of knowledge about the divine wheel realm. The so-called divine wheel realm is to connect oneself with heaven and earth, forming the most direct connection. The divine wheel extends from within the cultivator's body and takes root in the invisible void, constantly drawing in the vital energy of heaven and earth. And its efficiency is at least 100 times faster than absorbing spiritual energy. This is just the effect of one divine wheel. Ordinary cultivators can open a total of 9 divine wheels. The 9th layer of the divine wheel is a 9-fold superposition. And if the 10th divine wheel is opened, no one knows what kind of changes the 10th divine wheel will bring, because that only exists in ancient legends. In today's world, only Dai Wangyang, the young master of the heaven-shaking palace, who successfully broke through days ago, knows. The so-called divine wheel is the bridge built between the cultivator and heaven and earth. This realm is also the first formidable pass among the 13 major realms. It is very difficult to surmount, much harder than the first 3 realms. It doesn't only depend on physique. It also requires not weak comprehension. But as long as it is successfully cultivated, not only will one's strength double, one can use the divine wheel against enemies, and can also fly upon the wheel, soaring into the clouds. Jiang Yuxian's tiny body sat cross-legged, carefully comprehending, wanting to trace that wisp of profound mystery. The spiritual energy within his body was like the Yangtze and Yellow rivers, surging endlessly. Time flew by in a hurry, and in the blink of an eye 7 days had passed. Jiang Yuxian would sometimes enter a state of enlightenment, and sometimes he would open his eyes, frown and think deeply. During this period, Su Qingshuang had also come to visit several times, delivering him quite a lot of precious medicines. On moon-gazing peak, the family was waiting quietly. They knew the little guy had a miraculous physique. A mere divine wheel realm couldn't possibly cause him much hindrance. The only thing that needed attention was just how much time it would take. But everyone was not in a hurry either. Instead, Xiao Fui Zhao He and Chu Xingyun's whole family also gathered around. Their original intention was to visit the little guy, but after learning that Jiang Yuxian was in closed-door cultivation, they ended up not leaving. Everyone wanted to see to what terrifying level the overall strength would reach. After that little thing broke through this time, Jiang Yuxian didn't make them wait too long. Exactly on the 10th day of his closed-door cultivation, suddenly an incomparably massive commotion transmitted from that cave dwelling. This is. Everyone uniformly turned their heads to look. It's Yuxian. He is about to break into the divine wheel realm. Su Qingshuang opened her mouth and said softly, her expression slightly astonished. Over these days, a strand of her mind was always placed on the little guy. for fear of any accidents happening. Thus at the very first moment, she sensed the cause of the matter. And such words made everyone else present greatly shocked without exception. It's only the 10th day. That little guy is actually about to advance into the divine wheel realm? Isn't that too fast? One by one their faces became extremely exaggerated, unable to believe it. Inside the cave dwelling at this time, Jiang Yuxian sat quietly cross-legged, like an old monk entering deep meditation. This space, after being modified by his mom, was like a small independent world. But at this time, it was filled with incomparably vast divine power. Lightning wreaked havoc. Divine light soared, turning the surrounding void into a sea of lightning. Although Jiang Yuxian was an infant, against the backdrop of the boundless might, he was like a tiny deity, majestic and imposing. At his chest cavity, an incomparably dazzling disk took shape, like a blazing sun, blooming with fierce and brilliant light. Every inch of his muscles, flesh and blood was illuminated to be completely translucent, looking like crystal clear precious jade, flawless and immaculate. This disk was precisely the divine wheel Jiang Yuxian had condensed, possessing a tight connection with his body. Next, he only needed to root the other end into heaven and earth, and that would mean successfully opening the first divine wheel. Divine wheel realm open for me. Suddenly a long shout issued from Jiang Yuxian's mouth. The voice was tender, but it contained a dense fierce spirit. Roar, roar, roar. The 840 million giant elephant particles inside his body roared at the sky at the same time. Brilliance rippled. These particles all shone in unison, churning out endless spiritual energy. Vast and mighty, the lightning martial meridians vibrated, like the veins of heaven and earth, constantly transporting energy, merging into the light in his chest cavity, supporting that disk. Rising slowly. Rumble, rumble. A massive booming sound rippled open. The void trembled endlessly, as the light cluster in his chest cavity continuously rose, just like a heaven and earth grinding disk moving across the sky. Apocalyptic energy surged in all directions, intending to destroy everything. Break for me. Jiang Yuxian went all out, charging madly, until a certain moment, another loud boom was heard. That divine wheel shooting 10,000 rays of golden light rushed out of his body, soaring into the air from behind him, like the rising morning sun, with brilliant divine light, dazzling and hard to resist. The massive divine wheel shone with dazzling splendor, carrying the power to destroy everything, fiercely expanding outwards, like a blazing sun slowly rising into the sky, hanging high in the 9 heavens, shining in the midair, radiant and eye-catching. In an instant extremely fierce energy surged outwards, causing this space to start trembling violently. Whoosh! In the distance, dense runes appeared in the void, revealing incomparably mysterious trajectories. That was the restrictive power laid down by Su Qingshuang. Otherwise, with just this impact, this space would probably be turned upside down. Even so, the nearby void still rippled with terrifying folds. The scene was frightening. It's done. It's done. When everyone outside sensed this situation, they couldn't help but erupt into a burst of cheers. The little guy really broke through to the divine wheel realm. He only took 10 days' time. This is too fast. Ha 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 ha. My Jiang Taihong's grandson is just this extraordinary, worthy of being my Su Yunfeng's maternal grandson. My Su family's bloodline should be this formidable. The 2 old men were extremely smug, laughing heartily. But as soon as Su Yunfeng's words came out, Jiang Taihang subconsciously stiffened his neck. What do you mean your Su family's bloodline is formidable? Is my Jiang family worse than yours? Besides, that is my grandson Jiang Yuxian. His surname is Jiang, do you understand? Jiang Taihang rolled up his sleeves, ready to have a good argument with him. Su Qingshuang hastily stopped them. To be able to bicker over such a thing, it was simply unparalleled. Stinky brat. He's really amazing. Jiang Wushu also praised like this. Thinking back to that year, when he broke through from the peak of the heavenly dipper realm to the divine wheel realm, it took him a full 20+ days. But Yuxian did it in 10 days. This son is all right. Stronger than his old man. Worthy of being my Jiang Wushu's seed. He was extremely delighted. The commotion of everyone outside. Jiang Yuxian naturally didn't know. At this moment he had already opened his eyelids, raised his head, and looked at the radiant disk above. Experiencing it carefully, he could clearly feel that the divine wheel seemed to be a part of his own body, while at the same time taking root between heaven and earth. madly swallowing powerful vital energy, worthy of the name divine wheel. The effect of this absorption of heaven and earth energy is simply too terrifying. Without Jiang Yuxian needing to drive it, that divine wheel would autonomously absorb energy, melting it into himself endlessly. If the human body were compared to a big tree, then heaven and earth would be the soil for growth, and the divine wheel would be the thick roots of the big tree, firmly taking root underground, only thereby able to provide an endless stream of divine energy. Continuously reaching the divine wheel realm was considered taking a truly massive step on the path of cultivation. Not only that, the divine wheel realm could also be used for combat. Carry me to fly. Jiang Yuxian thought to himself. He wanted to give it a try, but on second thought decided against it. As for the specific power, he would wait until after he came out of seclusion to try it. He would first cultivate 9 divine wheels in one go. He currently had no time to delay. He had to reach the 10 divine wheels realm within half a year. Especially the 10th divine wheel. It was absolutely an incomparably terrifying test. That young master of the heaven-shaking palace could be described as having heaven-sent talent, almost unmatched in the current world. But even so, the 10th divine wheel also trapped him for 5 long years. Jiang Yuxian no longer hesitated, and re-entered his cultivation state. His mom had sent over many precious medicines again. Jiang Yuxian was not afraid of wasting them at all, grabbing them and stuffing them into his mouth. It's just that these highly graded precious medicines, although their medicinal power was incomparably abundant, their taste was truly uncomplimentary. Some were bitter, some were astringent, and also very pungent. As Jiang Yuxian ate them, his small face wrinkled into a ball. But in order to save time to break through, he had no better choice. Having the heavens swallowing demonic art in his body, he was not afraid of being unable to refine them. This stinky brat. He's eating precious medicines like regular meals. Outside, Jiang Wushu couldn't help but complain. Over these days, the precious medicines consumed by the little guy, if used on other divine wheel realm cultivators, wouldn't be exhausted in several years. But him, he gnawed them completely clean. If not for the family still having some foundation, they would probably be eaten into poverty. Of course, complaining is complaining. Jiang Wushu didn't feel heartbroken at all. On the contrary, he was also looking forward to it. For Jiang Yuxian to cultivate to the perfection of the 9th layer of the divine wheel realm, enough energy was needed. The group of people continued to pay attention. They knew, since Jiang Yuxian's first divine wheel had already been opened now, the next 8 divine wheels would absolutely fall into place naturally for that little guy. As expected, over the next few days, continuous commotions came from inside the cave dwelling. Burst after burst of massive commotions sounded one after another. Rumble, rumble. Under everyone's perception, one divine wheel after another successively condensed and emerged from that tiny body, soaring into the high altitude. Divine wheel 3rd layer. Divine wheel 6th layer. Divine wheel 9th layer. In just 5 days' time, they saw 9 eye-piercing golden light divine wheels appearing in that space, suspended above the 9 heavens, bobbing up and down. Vigorous energy fluctuated outwards, as if 9 suns were rising together, incomparably blazing. A terrifying sight. Ha 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 ha. I told you my grandson Yuxian's aptitude crowns all eternity unmatched by anyone. In less than half a month, he cultivated the divine wheel realm to perfection in one breath. Jiang Taihang laughed heartily. As soon as these words came out, everyone couldn't help but nod. But then they simultaneously paused. Although Jiang Taihang's words were not wrong, they couldn't be called entirely right either. One must know. Nowadays in the 3000 Dao realms, there had appeared a 10 divine wheels user who awed eternity. The talent Jiang Yuxian displayed absolutely deserved to be called crushing eternity. However, that 10 divine wheels user was absolutely no mediocre person either. He was similarly walking an invincible path. Who cares? My maternal grandson's path is the strongest. Su Yunfeng suddenly waved his large hand, setting the tone. The family also didn't say anything more. Pairs of eyes all looked toward Jiang Yuxian's place of closed-door cultivation. Having broken through to the 9th layer of the divine wheel, the little guy could come out of seclusion. But what people didn't expect was, when several more days passed, Jiang Yuxian had absolutely no intention of leaving the cave dwelling. Instead, the spiritual energy inside his tiny body was still operating endlessly, condensing madly. Didn't the cultivation finish? Why isn't he coming out yet? What's the situation? Everyone was baffled. Yuxian. He also wants to condense the 10th divine wheel. Su Qingshuang suddenly froze and said blankly. No way. Hearing this, the others were all shocked. In the many years the great wasteland world has existed, it's not that no one has tried it, but without exception, all ended in failure. It could be said that it was almost an impassable path. Even with the talents of Su Qingshuang and Jiang Wushu, back in the day, they also failed to cultivate it. Since the ancient times, only that Dai Wangyang, who is only 10 years old, cultivated it days ago. Awing the current era. Over 5 years the resources of the heaven-shaking palace he consumed were countless, causing strong dissatisfaction among many people. Now that the 10 divine wheels had appeared, unique in all of eternity, not only did it silence the masses, the entire 3,000 Dao realms also boiled endlessly because of it. The shock it caused was no less than the continuous miracles before Jiang Yuxian's birth. It's not hard to imagine just how difficult a path that is. But now, their own Yuxian actually also wanted to cultivate the 10th divine wheel. Yuxian's ambition is really not small. After a moment of shock, Su Qingshuang revealed a hint of a smile. Jiang Wushu and the others similarly felt it was incredible. But at the same time they were more excited. Since the little guy had the heart to challenge that eternally unique invincible path, then let him give it a try. They themselves just needed to wait quietly. It was just that this wait was a bit long. In the blink of an eye 4 months passed. For Jiang Yuxian to want to cultivate the 10 divine wheels, regardless of success or failure, it would probably take several years. They just didn't know whether he would stay in closed-door cultivation all along. In the end, Jiang Taihang and Su Yunfeng simply each took a few Dao comprehension tea leaves, and also ran off into closed-door cultivation. By the time I come out of seclusion, my grandson must have already cultivated the 10 divine wheels. My Su Yunfeng's maternal grandson will definitely be unprecedented and unmatched. Not only them, the siblings Su Qingtian and Su Qingyu also left the ancient heaven sect. The Xuanshuang cave heaven was being rebuilt. They just happened to go back to check the specific progress. Additionally, the people of the ancient heaven sect hadn't shown their faces much recently either. Because in a period of time, it would be the sect's once-in-a-century disciple selection. This was no ordinary receiving of disciples, but opening the sect's gates wide, allowing everyone in the 3,000 Dao realms who aspired to join the ancient heaven sect to get an opportunity for assessment. The master sect of a heavenly emperor expert had immense attraction. When the time comes, countless heavens chosen and elites would rush over from all directions. But only those truly outstanding individuals could finally pass the test. Xiao Fui Zhao He Chu Xingyun and the others had all been running around in circles for this matter recently. They had to make ample preparations. Inside the cave dwelling, Jiang Yuxian, who was in closed-door cultivation, also encountered difficulties. Over the few months, his body had grown a lot. His small face was chubby, at a glance looking even more robust than an ordinary 1-year-old child, covered in sinewy muscles, as strong as a calf. He could already speak clearly. It just still sounded a bit milky and childish. 10 divine wheels are hard for heaven and earth to tolerate. Otherwise no one wouldn't have failed to cultivate it since ancient times. This point is probably somewhat similar to, one era does not tolerate 2 emperors. Jiang Yuxian broke away from the cultivation state and muttered to himself. In fact, he had long condensed the prototype of the 10th divine wheel within his body. However, he could clearly feel that there were formless rules in heaven and earth suppressing him, firmly sealing that divine wheel inside his body, completely unable to root it in the void space. Time is running out. Jiang Yuxian felt slightly urgent. There was only a little over a month left until the mission deadline. He no longer just meditated and cultivated blindly, but instead started walking around in the small space, continuously exploring. It was also on this day that his mom came in again to visit him, and also brought a large amount of precious medicines. Yuxian, your dad and I are going out for a while. Cultivate here with peace of mind. If you want to go out, go find Granny Shi. Don't run around recklessly. Su Qingshuang picked up the little guy, affectionately pressed her cheek against his face and said softly. Jiang Yuxian raised his eyebrows. He could roughly guess that his mom's trip this time was highly likely to enter the fierce land of death, to check on Xue Hongluo's situation. Got it, Mom. Jiang Yuxian nodded and said, "What, mom? Call me mother." Su Qingshuang couldn't help but scrape his nose. "Okay, mom." Jiang Yuxian nodded again and said crisply. Su Qingshuang suddenly felt helpless. Ever since the little guy was born, he had always called her Lao Ma, mom. Shouldn't he call her Nyang Qin, mother? But she really couldn't out-stubborn him, and could only drop it. Subsequently, Su Qingshuang took out a small jade pendant, shaped like a frost flower, and put it around Jiang Yuxian's neck. Inside there was a dharma body of hers. Even if a group of holy ancestors attacked, they shouldn't even think about hurting a single hair on the little guy. Even if a heavenly emperor-level expert wanted to break it, it would still require quite some effort. Enough to hold out until she arrived in person. Not only that, she also reinforced the restrictions of this cave dwelling a lot more. The little guy could go out when his cultivation ended, but people outside absolutely couldn't come in. After doing all this, Su Qingshuang turned around and left. "Goodbye, mom." Jiang Yuxian waved his hand, but saw his mom bitterly smiling and rubbing her forehead. Su Qingshuang left. Jiang Wuxiu accompanied her. Because the fierce land of death was too terrifying. He really couldn't set his mind at ease. Even if he couldn't venture deep into it together, he had to follow and take a look. For a time, moon-gazing peak quieted down. Apart from Jiang Yuxian in closed-door cultivation, there was only Granny Shi staying behind here. Time slowly passed, getting closer and closer to the mission deadline. There were only 20+ days left. Jiang Yuxian gradually became a bit annoyed. He tried to open the 10th divine wheel multiple times, but all ended in failure. Others can do it. I, as the Emperor's son, with the supreme bone lightning martial meridians, heaven swallowing demonic art, and divine elephant suppressing prison strength on me, and the innate purple energy condensed before birth, is even more like a vast ocean. I don't believe that I can't even reach the 10th layer of the divine wheel realm. To hell with the great Tao taboos, to hell with being unique in eternity. Suddenly endless unyielding spirit surged in Jiang Yuxian's heart. Heaven and earth taboos. As the Emperor's son, I will break such taboos. What unique? I, Jiang Yuxian, swear to subvert this uniqueness. The invincible paths of the world. How can mine be missing? 10th divine wheel open for me. Jiang Yuxian sat cross-legged and roared loudly. The precious medicines beside him were continuously stuffed into his mouth. On his forehead exactly 10 Tao comprehension tea leaves were pasted. The terrifying medicinal power dissolved, turning into a torrent roaring to the heavens within his body. The Tao comprehension tea circulated mysterious Tao resonance, turning into all kinds of profound rule imprints absorbed by him. Jiang Yuxian even took out a drop of the absolute beginning divine spring, and swallowed it directly into his mouth. All the power madly gathered within his body. The infant's body was like bursting continuous spring thunder, and sounds of dragons' roars and tigers' howls vented out from it. This power continuously gathered. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, until 7 days later it ushered in a peerlessly terrifying outburst. At the position of Jiang Yuxian's chest, the prototype of the 10th divine wheel glowed. Immediately following, amidst an earth-shattering loud sound, it rushed into the sky with a boom. A divine wheel shining with brilliant golden light soared up from within Jiang Yuxian's body. In an instant it erupted with an incomparably terrifying aura. Like when heaven and earth first opened. That streak of heaven's divine light when chaos transformed and produced life. Rolling might surged violently, sweeping across the 9 heavens, shaking heaven and earth. This small space underwent an incomparably fierce shaking. Countless restriction runes manifested again in the void. Extremely dazzling. The power within circulated, firmly resisting that massive tide of energy, seemingly capable of destroying everything. Rumble, rumble. The heavens shook and the earth moved. The void was like ocean waves, rolling up endless ripples. Above Jiang Yuxian 9 divine wheels stood aloof, like 9 suns crossing the sky. The 10th divine wheel emerged behind him, slowly revealing its complete form. This divine wheel was actually even larger than the first 9 combined, crushing across the void, emitting continuous massive booming sounds, as if wanting to crush this space into powder. The incomparably terrifying aura agitated the vast sky. But if Su Qingshuang and the others were here, they would only be extremely shocked. Because in that void, clusters of heaven and earth laws and formless order, like exceptionally thick chains, tightly bound around the 10th divine wheel, wanting to press it back into Jiang Yuxian's body. This was the suppressive power from heaven and earth. 10 divine wheels were hard for the great Tao to tolerate. Even the great universe did not want to see a 10 divine wheels user be born. Open for me. Jiang Yuxian's tender voice roared, pouring out all his strength to launch an impact. The supreme bone in his chest was glowing. The heaven-swallowing demonic art and divine elephant-suppressing prison strength operated simultaneously. Peerless power gathered, madly bursting forth from his seemingly weak body. Injecting into the 10th divine wheel. Jiang Yuxian gritted his teeth tightly. More precious medicines were stuffed into his mouth, swallowed whole as he stubbornly persevered. And as time passed, finally hearing a bang, a great Tao chain suddenly snapped. The 10th divine wheel rose 3 inches again. And this seemed to cause a chain reaction. Bang bang bang. One chain after another broke. Every loud sound causing a massive tremor in the space. As if the world was turning upside down. Under such circumstances, the 10th divine wheel gradually rose into the high heavens. Heavenly shackles were completely broken one by one. In just an instant, the brilliance of the other 9 divine wheels was entirely suppressed. So tired, Jiang Yuxian instantly collapsed on the ground from exhaustion. The 10 divine wheels above also slowly faded away. He had exhausted all his strength. The 840 million giant elephant cells also shriveled together. He had not a single trace of spiritual energy left. However, the corners of his mouth revealed a smile that was hard to conceal. Finally succeeded. Jiang Yuxian felt gratified. Months of effort were not in vain. The 10th divine wheel was finally successfully opened by him. A moment later, he felt an endless stream of energy surging in. That was the effect of the 10 divine wheels. Even if they were put away by him, they were still madly devouring heaven and earth vital energy. Like a flash flood pouring down, nourishing his body. His strength was rapidly recovering. And at this time outside, Granny she was sitting cross-legged in front of the cave dwelling looking inside doubtfully. Due to the reinforcement of the restrictions, she could no longer clearly perceive Jiang Yuxian's specific situation. Even the sounds couldn't be heard very clearly. How did this little guy cause such a huge commotion again? Could he be testing the power of the 9 divine wheels? Granny she muttered with a light smile. She wouldn't believe that Jiang Yuxian had advanced to the 10th layer of the divine wheel realm so quickly. It hasn't even been half a year yet. He must be a bit bored after being in seclusion for so long. Wanting to take a break. Granny she originally wanted to go in and check on the little guy. But after pondering for a moment she dropped the idea. Better to let him have fun by himself. Perhaps he will continue to cultivate next. If he doesn't want to he can easily walk out of the cave dwelling himself. Anyway, with the jade pendant left by Su Qingshuang. Even if something goes wrong with the little guy's cultivation, it can keep him safe. Thinking of this, Granny she closed her eyelids again. And sat cross-legged quietly. Inside the cave dwelling, Jiang Yuxian lay paralyzed on the ground for a long time before recovering. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission. The reward has been issued. Do you want to integrate the Shing word secret? When such a voice rang in his ears, Jiang Yuxian couldn't help but reveal a knowing smile. This mission was finally completed. The Shing word secret was in his hands. Integrate. He didn't need to think too much. And chose to integrate the Shing word secret. This was one of the 9 secrets, representing the ultimate realm of movement in the world. In fact, he already possessed the golden-winged Great Peng runes on him, his speed crowning the universe. But no matter how fast the golden-winged Great Peng was, it couldn't compare to the Shing word secret. The greatest profundity of this secret method was not speed, but piercing through thousands of obstacles. Peerless killing arrays could not trap it. Various profound gates could not block it. In the end, it could even become the evolution of time, making all things pause for a moment. In duels between experts, a momentary change could determine life and death. In an instant, a massive amount of information flooded into Jiang Yuxian's mind. The profound meaning of the Shing word secret was entirely engraved in the depths of his soul. However, Jiang Yuxian was not in a hurry to cultivate it. His thoughts flew away, and instead he thought of another matter. Are 10 divine wheels truly the ultimate in the world? Many images flashed back in Jiang Yuxian's mind. 9 is the extreme of numbers. So the cultivators in this world can only open 9 divine wheels. 10 is perfection. Therefore Dai Wangyang broke through the formidable pass, opened 10 divine wheels and became unique through eternity. But Jiang Yuxian didn't think that this was the extreme realm that cultivation could reach. 9 is the extreme number. 10 is perfection. But they ultimately lacked transformation. Just like the great universe where yin and yang transform and produce life. All things begin, and the path of cultivation for living beings, is merely pursuing the trajectory of the great Tao's evolution, acting against the mandate of heaven. So the true extreme realm cannot be perfection, but possessing countless transformations like when the great Tao first appeared. Yin and Yang begin to emanate. 1 produces 2, 2 produces 3. 3 produces all things. This is the true great Tao. This is the ultimate invincible path. All of a sudden, Jiang Yuxian felt as if he was enlightened by ultimate wisdom, instantly comprehending. The 10th layer of the divine wheel is not the extreme realm. Even if it's unique in eternity, it was still a common occurrence in the ancient times. In today's world, someone has also succeeded in it ahead of me. That is an invincible path belonging to someone else. He Jiang Yuxian still disdained to walk it. Since that's the case, then I will personally open up an invincible path that uniquely belongs to myself. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuxian immediately sat cross-legged again, his small face showing a completely serious expression. With a thought in his mind. Boom boom boom. The 10 divine wheels soared into the sky again, releasing inextinguishable light. The 10th divine wheel sat stably in the center, while the other 9 divine wheels guarded the surroundings like stars surrounding the moon. Under Jiang Yuxian's driving force, the 10 divine wheels among themselves fiercely collided and squeezed together. Crack crack crack. In the blink of an eye, sounds like jade objects shattering exploded. On one divine wheel, dense cracks appeared, looking as if it was about to burst apart. In just a moment's time, the rest of the divine wheels also cracked one after another. Terrifying energy exploded out, surging through heaven and earth. Jiang Yuxian's physical body also underwent violent tremors, his skin splitting and flesh tearing, blood flowing. Jiang Yuxian's physique was incomparably powerful. The infinite innate purple energy completely transformed his body, cultivating the divine elephant suppressing prison strength, made his physical body reach an extremely terrifying level. Even so, right now as the 10 divine wheels successively shattered, releasing incomparably fierce power, it also caused cracks to appear on his physical body. At this moment he looked like a porcelain object covered in cracks, with blood seeping out all over his body. Incomparably terrifying. If there was an outsider here, they would probably be scared half to death. One must know, every divine wheel of a cultivator is closely related to themselves. It is an extension of the body, the most direct bridge for oneself to communicate with heaven and earth. He actually just crushed them like this. This little thing. What on earth did he want to do? With all divine wheels shattered, people could actually die. But unfortunately, no one could see such a situation. And Jiang Yuxian likewise did not hesitate or look back. He manipulated the 10 divine wheels, fiercely crashing them together. If you are not ruthless to yourself, you won't even know how excellent you are. Jiang Yuxian's lips began to tremble. Piercing pain transmitted from all over his body. Even his divine soul seemed as if it was about to tear apart. The divine wheels shattered. The spiritual energy within his body rioted together. That kind of pain was beyond imagination. But he plunged ahead without hesitation, instead pushing his power to the extreme, causing the 10 divine wheels to crush and shatter. Boom boom boom. Crack crack crack. The 10 divine wheels collided, emitting terrifying booms. Monstrous mighty power surged out wildly. The earth cracked open. The firmament trembled. The void there was squeezed into fine powder. Jiang Yuxian's tiny body trembled, and very soon his entire body was smeared with blood. Such a scene was too terrifying. But his eyes were incomparably firm, tenaciously holding on. How could the invincible path be so easy to walk, without suffering the ravages of wind and rain? How can one break the cocoon and become a butterfly? Wanting to forge a great Tao that belongs to oneself, one must destroy first to establish later. Changing heaven and earth. Jiang Yuxian was firm in his idea. The unique divine wheel is the true extreme of this major realm. Fusing all 10 cultivated divine wheels into himself, his body would be that unique divine wheel. Between himself and heaven and earth, no bridge is needed. This is the ultimate method. This is the ultimate Tao. As long as he succeeds, what 10 divine wheels are all bullshit. Jiang Yuxian believed that this path could definitely be walked successfully. But at the same time he also knew that tremendous dangers were hidden within it. A single misstep, and he might even lose his life. In such a world, if I don't become invincible in the world, what meaning is there? Jiang Yuxian muttered in his heart. Suddenly, the tiny figure charged up into the high heavens, diving into the center of the 10 divine wheels in one fell swoop. Vast and boundless power, madly squeezed towards his body. Just as Jiang Yuxian focused wholeheartedly on cultivating and bursting towards the invincible path in his heart, the ancient heaven sect gradually became lively. The several major cities around the Liang realm were filled with people. A boiling cauldron of voices. Outside the sect gates there were even countless cultivators stopping to watch. Rumble rumble. Massive carriages crushed the void as they arrived, carrying crowds of young boys and girls. There were fierce beasts stepping their 4 hooves on the void. Every step landing stamped out a patch of runic light in the firmament. There were also experts breaking through the void to arrive, bringing a group of younger generation disciples. These people were all from some not weak factions, and their lineups were not small. The ancient heaven sect's once-in-a-century disciple reception ceremony absolutely must not be missed. Many people with extraordinary cultivation muttered to themselves when acquaintances met each other. They even chatted lively. This was a grand event. The ancient heaven sect opened its gates wide to broadly recruit disciples for the numerous great clans and sects. This was a rare opportunity. One must know that from the ancient heaven sect, there had walked out a heavenly emperor and a peak holy ancestor. This was a massive attraction. Apart from those holy lands' great sects, aristocratic families, and divine dynasties, probably very few people could remain unmoved by it. A heavenly emperor's master sect. Countless people wanted to enter it to cultivate. The entrance examination will begin in a few days. There are really so many people. Some experts looked around. Silhouettes were everywhere in the void, and the ground was even more densely packed. A cluster here. A pile there. The atmosphere was passionate. This time I'm afraid nearly 10 million people will come. But in the end, those who can truly enter the ancient heaven sect to cultivate will likely be less than 10,000. It can be called 1 in 1,000. Someone said with a sigh. This is not your ordinary 1 in 1,000. Those who dare to come here to participate in the examination are all without exception younger generations with extraordinary talent. If those mediocre people came here, they would only make a fool of themselves and bring disgrace upon themselves. In 3 days, the Battle Dragon's secret realm will open. All participants of the examination will enter it. Those who pass may become disciples of my ancient heaven sect. Right at this moment, an incomparably grand voice rang out between heaven and earth. Everyone heard it. The Battle Dragon's secret realm. The ancient heaven sect is actually going to open the Battle Dragon's secret realm. Some experts spoke in alarm. Many people had heard the rumors about the Battle Dragon's secret realm. That was a secret realm discovered by Emperor Shuang a few hundred years ago. Later, when she became an emperor, it was brought back to the ancient heaven sect by her, using a great divine ability. Legend has it that inside the Battle Dragon's secret realm divine treasures are countless and spirit plants are everywhere. It seems there is also a tomb inside, burying an ancient heaven-reaching figure. Besides that, there seems to be a ruined battlefield. As for more specific things, outsiders cannot know. Because now, the Battle Dragon secret realm belongs to the ancient heaven sect. Don't think too much the ancient heaven sect, letting the younger generation enter for examination. There must be strict arrangements inside. Many important places will be impossible to set foot in. Someone let out a long sigh, very much wanting to go inside and explore for a bit. The things brought back by Emperor Shuang are absolutely rare in the world. If one could fully excavate it, there would definitely be unexpected harvests. It's just a pity that the ancient heaven sect has definitely laid down arrays and restrictions in many places. They will only open a small area to be used for the examination of the many young boys and girls. Other people don't even have a chance if they want to go in. Even if they only open a small patch, there will absolutely be no small opportunities within. Little ones, you must grasp the opportunity well. Some experts from great clans had an idea. The ancient heaven sect, utilizing the Battle Dragon secret realm, definitely won't be that stingy. They will surely leave some treasures for the numerous younger generation to find. Who can get them depends entirely on their own chance and fortune. Under such circumstances, the crowd quietly began to wait. Besides this, there were also some people preparing for another matter. After the grand disciple reception ceremony ends, is the array formation assembly. When the time comes, let this old man see, over these years, what level the array formation attainments of those old guys have actually reached. They saw an old man dressed in a brocade robe flying through the air. The clothes on his body were fully carved with mysterious lines, like the evolution of array formations. A single glance couldn't help but make one's mind sink into them. Behind the old man, a large group of disciples followed in a rustling crowd, flying into the ancient heaven sect together, and received a polite reception. Someone recognized that these people came from the profound array sect, yet another supreme great sect. They didn't come here to participate in the disciple reception ceremony, but for another grand event, the array formation assembly. Besides the profound array sect, those in the 3,000 Tao realms who majored in the Tao of arrays, or those with profound attainments in the Tao of arrays, mostly rushed over. For a time this place became even more lively, and at the same moment, Jiang Yuxian, who was in closed-door cultivation, had also entered a most critical moment. Inside the cave dwelling, Jiang Yuxian stood in midair. At this time he had reached the most crucial juncture. Around him 10 divine wheels hung in the air, booming endlessly, squeezing each other, exploding out pieces of fragments, turning into a flurry of light rain, striking in all directions. Every single divine wheel had already deformed, completely unrecognizable. The 9 smaller divine wheels even had parts missing, having been successfully fused into his body by him. Boom boom boom. In the vast sky, terrifying energy shot out in all directions, piercing the firmament, smashing through the void. Endless storms swept the wilderness. Huge cracks burst open on the ground, spreading like spiderwebs. For Jiang Yuxian, this was an incomparably painful process. He was located in the most central position, enduring the invasion of the fiercest power. His tiny body constantly collapsed and ruined, badly mutilated. Even the bones in his body also broke, about to be ground into powder. Only the supreme bone was still intact, fusing the 10 divine wheels into one, incorporating them into his body, thereby allowing himself to transform, becoming that unique divine wheel. This was equivalent to rooting himself between heaven and earth, directly contacting the primordial origin. Once successful, he would inevitably benefit endlessly. This was an unprecedented action, but it also contained extreme danger. Inside Jiang Yuxian's body, the supreme bone soared with divine light, releasing extremely vigorous energy, attempting to repair his physical body. The heaven-swallowing demonic art operated endlessly, madly devouring spiritual energy, transforming into lightning power in his martial meridians, nourishing every inch of flesh and blood. Giant elephant seeds spewed forth divine splendor one by one, then exploded, and were reborn again, to prevent the body from collapsing. This was exactly because Jiang Yuxian possessed various heaven-defying methods. If it were anyone else, they would have probably refined themselves to death by now, the kind where not even ashes would remain. Even so, amidst unimaginable pain, Jiang Yuxian's consciousness became somewhat blurred. Since it has started, there is no turning back. Soul divine wheel, gather for me. Jiang Yuxian did not dare let himself fall asleep, struggling desperately to hold on. Then a tender but furious shout erupted from his mouth. The heaven-swallowing demonic art was circulated to its absolute limit. The particles of his body transformed into giant elephants roaring at the sky. All the power guided the 10 divine wheels to erupt with even more terrifying power. Buzz buzz buzz. The heavens trembled. The earth rumbled. The void shuddered. Inch by inch, those divine wheels slowly sank into his body. The golden light gradually weakened. This process lasted for a whole day. The connection between the divine wheels and heaven and earth was like tiny rootlets, being absorbed into Jiang Yuxian's body, taking root and growing within his flesh and blood. Just as the second day arrived, suddenly, the last wisp of golden light abruptly retracted. Between heaven and earth, only Jiang Yuxian's silhouette remained. The 10 brilliantly glowing divine wheels were nowhere to be seen. But immediately after, an incomparably majestic pressure suddenly descended upon the world. A terrifying aura surged like a rising divine ocean tide, erupting outward from Jiang Yuxian's body, setting off monstrous raging waves, tens of thousands of crashing billows. Rumble! A pitch-black cavity suddenly emerged from behind Jiang Yuxian, like the giant gaping maw of a demon king, incomparably soul-snatching, heart-palpitating. This black hole was tens of thousands of feet huge. As soon as it appeared, it was like an immemorial divine mountain, smashing heavily into the endless vast sea. Waves of world-destroying might swept outward. The void within the immortal cave rolled out with endless billowing tides. Jiang Yuxian floated in midair. The incomparably terrifying black hole behind him made him look like an immemorial demon venerable. An absolutely formidable devouring force erupted. Violent winds suddenly whipped up between heaven and earth. In an instant, it seemed as if it would suck out all the spiritual energy in this space. At the same time, endless energy surged madly into Jiang Yuxian's body. Within his flesh, blood, and tendons, crackling sounds rang out. Rapidly squirming, quickly healing. After a short while, his entire body completed its restoration, once again becoming as robust as a tiger cub, even a circle bulkier and stronger than before. Jiang Yuxian's little face was fair and clean, like a porcelain doll. But his body gave people a sense of unprovoked brawniness. His muscles were like horned dragons, gleaming with a surging metallic luster. I succeeded. After carefully feeling it for a moment, he couldn't help but shout happily. As expected, my idea was not wrong. The Soul Divine Wheel can truly be successfully cultivated. The 10 divine wheels uniting into one is like the great Tao returning to its origin. In the future this will inevitably derive infinite variations. The only thing that slightly surprised Jiang Yuxian was that the Soul Divine Wheel he cultivated was not hidden within his body, but instead transformed into a black hole spanning tens of thousands of feet, strikingly different from the previously shining golden divine wheels. This seems even better. The Soul Divine Wheel can be manifested outward, adding another method during combat. Jiang Yuxian whispered to himself softly. He could clearly feel the ferocity of this Soul Divine Wheel. Just by hanging there, the space around its opening produced terrifying distortions. It was not hard to imagine, if it swept out an attack, what kind of terrifying power it would bring. In the future, whoever pisses me off, I'll give them a vicious hit with this. It's been half a year. Not only have I reached the 10th layer of the Divine Wheel realm, I've even gone a step further, cultivating the Soul Divine Wheel. I really am a little genius. At this moment Jiang Yuxian was extremely smug. We ordinary folks are truly happy today. Truly happy. He happily hummed a little tune. Although the mission was completed, and he had additional gains, he wasn't in a hurry to end his seclusion. Better practice the Shing word secret to the entry level first. Jiang Yuxian put away the Soul Divine Wheel, descended from the void, sat down cross-legged, and began cultivating the Shing word secret. This closed-door cultivation was truly full of harvests. While he was feeling delighted in his heart, the outside world had completely blown up. On this day, the great Tao rotated. The firmament overturned. The universe shook. Rolling muffled thunder echoed beyond the heavens. It could be heard clearly in every corner of the 3,000 Tao realms. Those old monsters with profound cultivation were all entirely alarmed. Pairs of eyes were filled with extreme horror, looking towards the highest heavens in astonishment, only to see boundless laws exploding, the principles of the great Tao disintegrating, as if a terrifying peerless supreme being had descended upon this world. Wherever it passed, chains of heaven and earth snapped with a bang. Endless order became tangled like a mess. This was a terrifying anomaly, making everyone endlessly frightened. Seeing a heaven and earth anomaly again, what exactly is going on? Someone broke through to a new extreme realm again. It seems to be the Divine Wheel realm. Some experts divined the heavenly secrets and uttered these words, making everyone's scalps tingle. About a year ago, the Emperor's son created a new bone-tempering extreme realm while still in his mother's womb, causing an uproar across the entire world. And now, unexpectedly, someone broke through the Divine Wheel realm's extreme realm again. This is simply too terrifying. Is it that one from the heaven-shaking palace? Half a year ago, he cultivated the eternally unique 10 divine wheels. Could it be he took another step forward today? An unknown number of gazes looked towards the distant Chongqing region. The first person people thought of was that youth named Dai Wangyang. 10 divine wheels, the only one in the current age, overwhelming all ages, unmatched by anyone. If anyone could go a step further on this path, I'm afraid it would be none other than him. When the 10 divine wheels were born, it also triggered massive anomalies. But they were not as formidable as today's. I truly don't know just how powerful he has become at this moment. However, what people didn't expect was news quickly spread. The heaven-shaking palace denied this matter. The new divine wheel extreme realm was not Dai Wangyang's doing. This made many people even more anxious. And at the same time they couldn't help but suspect. Could the divination have been wrong? It's not impossible. The great Tao is hard to fathom. Heavenly secrets are hard to seek. Perhaps something went wrong somewhere. For a time, many old monsters began to deduce once more. The terrifying anomalies caused a massive uproar across the 3,000 Dao realms. The most terrifying thing was, all this did not start because of Dai Wangyang, but because of someone else. With this, countless people were scared half to death. In today's world, has another terrifyingly peerless figure appeared? However, many old monsters made their moves. But not only couldn't they calculate who that person was, they couldn't even grasp the specific form of the new extreme realm. Therefore, many people couldn't help but guess. Judging solely by the anomalies, one can roughly see that this new extreme realm is even more ferocious than the 10 divine wheels. Could it be 11 divine wheels? It's absolutely not that simple. Someone said this. This caused many people to fall silent. Similarly, many individuals with profound insight generated even more conjectures. But before the truth comes out, no one dared to jump to conclusions. This storm shocked countless cultivators. Inside the ancient heaven sect, it was exactly the same. The numerous youths and maidens who came to participate were all discussing it animatedly. The cultivation bases of these people were mostly in the divine wheel realm and spirit nurturing realm. But to them, the 10 divine wheels was already terrifying to the extreme. Now another extreme realm popped up. Just which immortal deity was this? And what kind of freak could achieve this? The very few juniors who aspired to compete for the title of the era's strongest prodigy. For a moment all felt an urge to vomit blood. And the higher-ups of the ancient heaven sect were equally greatly shaken. Granny Shi, who was at moon-gazing peak, also stood up from her deep meditation. It couldn't be the little guy, right? She suddenly raised her eyes and looked towards the immortal cave where the little guy was in seclusion. Unfortunately, the ferocious restrictions laid down by Su Qingshuang blocked her divine sense. Shi Wuqing pondered for a moment, then leaned on her walking stick and stepped into the cave step by step. With just one glance she saw that little thing Jiang Yuxian, sitting there cross-legged right now cultivating earnestly. The matters outside seemed to have absolutely nothing to do with him. It seems I was overthinking. Yuxian has only been in seclusion for half a year. It would probably take several more years just to cultivate to the 10 divine wheels. How could he have broken through to a new extreme realm? Granny, she shook her head and chuckled. I really thought too much. No wonder. Yuxian displayed too many miraculous traits before he was even born. As soon as the divine wheel extreme realm appeared, I actually immediately thought of him. It's just that this little thing's aura seems somewhat off. Granny, she suddenly raised her eyebrows. Currently, she is an entity at the holy ancestor realm. Her perception is naturally powerful. She clearly felt that Jiang Yuxian's figure seemed to contain a mysterious charm, as profound as the sea, as vast as an abyss. At a single glance, within that tiny body, there seemed to be 9 divine wheels. Taking another look, it seemed to be 10. Blinking and looking again, it was as if it transformed into 3, 6, or 8. Sometimes it seemed like there were none at all. Unpredictably shifting, elusive and hard to grasp. What is this situation? For a moment Granny, she was a bit dumbfounded. If Jiang Yuxian knew of her confusion, he would probably be amused. This was exactly the brilliant part of the soul divine wheel. What he wanted was this infinite variation, with no fixed numbers to speak of. Could it be this little guy learned some aura concealing technique? Little Qingshuang taught him before she left? Granny, she smiled suddenly. This was the only explanation. She didn't dwell on it anymore, and left on her own. The little guy was still cultivating. She wouldn't disturb him. Sitting cross-legged outside once again, quietly waiting for the little guy to exit seclusion. However, on the very next day, the figure of a man in his 30s condensed in front of her. This man wore loose robes with wide sleeves. His appearance was majestic, leaking a domineering aura. After seeing Shi Wuqing, he bowed deeply. Yaizong ah. You have come. Granny, she nodded and said softly. The newcomer was precisely the current sect master of the ancient heaven sect Jiang Yizong. He was of the same generation as Su Qingshuang and Jiang Wuxiu, but slightly older. Granny Shi. In a few days the formation assembly will be held at the ancient heaven sect. At present some setups have not yet been completed, requiring the joint effort of multiple holy ancestors. I can only come to trouble Granny Shi. Jiang Yizong said with a smile. Granny, she nodded her head. Regarding this matter, Jiang Yizong had already given her a heads up several months ago. Alright, let's go. Shi Wuqing waved her walking stick and said. Jiang Yizong's gaze lingered for a moment on the immortal cave covered in restrictions. Martial nephew, he should be fine, right? He was slightly uneasy. Once Granny Shi left, no one would be guarding Moon Gazing Peak. He was worried that an accident might occur during the little guy's cultivation. Hearing this, Granny Shi let out a light laugh. It's fine. I went to check on him yesterday. He is currently meditating and cultivating. With the Dharma body left behind by little Qingshuang, nothing will go wrong. He won't exit seclusion in the short term either. Besides, I'll be back in a day or two at most. Granny Shi said. Only then did Jiang Yizong speak no more. The two left Moon Gazing Peak together. Not long after they left, Jiang Yuxian inside the immortal cave suddenly opened his eyes. His tiny figure leaped up. His feet unceasingly stepped onto the void. Mysterious patterns surfaced under his feet, manifesting light, carrying his figure howling through heaven and earth. Fast to the extreme. Ha ha ha, the Shing word secret is indeed miraculous. Jiang Yuxian laughed heartily. He had cultivated the Shing word secret to the entry level. This profound footwork made his movements erratic and unpredictable. With every step taken, it was as if he was stepping on the trajectory of the great Tao. At this very moment, Jiang Yuxian only felt that in heaven and on earth, there was nowhere he could not go. What formations? What forbidden zones? None could trap him. Not only that, his speed had also reached an extreme. Inconceivably fast. The Shing word secret combined with my golden-winged Great Peng runes. Forget about airplanes. Even a rocket couldn't catch up to me. Jiang Yuxian grinned, extremely delighted. While executing the Shing word secret, intense golden runes also rose from his body. A Peng's cry resounded. A pair of wings formed from light actually appeared on his back. With a light flap, it carried him to vanish in a flash. In the blink of an eye, he appeared several miles away, appearing at the end of the immortal cave. Then a loud dong sound was heard. A wolfish howl echoed out. Dense restriction runes appeared in the void, bouncing Jiang Yuxian's entire person flying away, tumbling on the ground. He sat up in a roll. A large bump swelled up on his forehead. Turning his head, looking at those waves of restriction light, his face full of resentment. The Shing word secret plus the golden-winged Great Peng innate runes. The speed was too fast. He couldn't stop it at once, and crashed headfirst into the edge of the immortal cave, triggering the restrictions. The restrictions laid by Mom are way too sturdy. It hurts. Jiang Yuxian bared his teeth, gasping in cold air. This was textbook extreme joy begets sorrow. After a long time passed, Jiang Yuxian sighed softly and climbed up. I've been in seclusion for half a year. It's time to go out for a stroll. Little babies of the back mountain. Did you miss me? Jiang Yuxian suddenly shouted loudly, and darted out of the immortal cave like a wisp of smoke. Jiang Yuxian finally broke out of seclusion, but he searched around Moon Gazing Peak for quite a while, and didn't see even a single person's shadow. Grandpa, maternal grandpa, uncle, and auntie were all not here. Dad and Mom presumably hadn't returned yet either. Even Granny, she was nowhere to be seen. They actually left me here all alone. Do these adults even know how to look after a child? Jiang Yuxian grumbled a few sentences. He originally thought Granny she would come back soon. But after waiting for several hours there was no movement. Jiang Yuxian gradually felt a bit bored. However, right at this moment, a familiar voice suddenly rang in his ear. New mission released. Please let the host complete the mission objective. Participate in the Ancient Heaven Sect's disciple recruitment ceremony. Mission reward. General principles of basic formations. Another new mission came. And when he saw the mission's content, Jiang Yuxian couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. The Ancient Heaven Sect's disciple recruitment ceremony. Seems like it's taking place recently, right? He suddenly recalled. Before his seclusion his mom and dad had briefly mentioned this matter. It was roughly around this time. But he didn't know the exact time. After thinking about it, Jiang Yuxian opened the system and took a look. His whole person instantly shuddered. Good grief. There was actually a countdown. Only less than 2 hours remained. I don't even know where this ceremony is being held. How am I supposed to participate? The Ancient Heaven Sect is way too big, okay? Moreover, he was the only one at Moon Gazing Peak right now. He had nowhere to ask even if he wanted to. Never mind that. I have to go out and find someone to ask. Jiang Yuxian immediately took action, and prepared to dash down the mountain. But suddenly he thought of something. His footsteps paused for a moment. His eyes also lit up accordingly. His gaze glanced toward the back mountain. His figure flashed and rushed over. Subsequently, the back mountain of moon-gazing peak was thrown into chaos. A tiny figure barged in, making the many spirit beasts residing there turn pale with fright. Wasn't this the little demon king who had been quiet for half a year? He actually came back again. After a brief moment of daze, a group of little jade rabbit beasts shuddered all over, threw down the half-gnawed spirit grass in their paws, turned around and darted back into their burrows. Every spirit ape that saw Jiang Yuxian ran away at full speed. A flock of white cranes leisurely drinking by the lake flapped their wings and soared into the sky. But this time, this flock of birds also couldn't escape a disaster. Because this little thing, he could fly now. Bloody hell. Don't run, don't run. Quick, let me ride for a bit. Jiang Yuxian shouted loudly. The soul divine wheel hung in the air, carrying him upward against the wind. He caught up to a white crane in an instant, and landed on its back. This white crane let out a mournful cry. Its internal organs were all trembling. Am I that scary? Jiang Yuxian gave a bitter smile. Is there a need to be frightened like this? Do you know where the disciple recruitment ceremony is held? Quick, take me there. It doesn't matter if you don't know. Just find me a place with people. I will ask myself. Jiang Yuxian said rapidly. These white cranes had already gained spiritual intelligence, and could understand human speech. Furthermore, they had resided in the ancient heaven sect for many years, and must be very familiar with this place. Finding them to lead the way shouldn't go wrong. And this white crane indeed did not disappoint his expectations. While shivering in fear, it flapped its wings and flew, carrying him in flight for a long time. He finally saw a densely packed crowd of people in the distance, like a massive swarm of mosquitoes. Too many to count. This should be the place. Jiang Yuxian grinned. With his eyesight, he could see those people were almost all youths and maidens aged from 7 or 8 to 17 or 18, covering the ground and the clear azure sky. He had never seen so many people before. No need to think much about it. They were certainly here to participate in the assessment. And in the void ahead of the crowd, a divine light transformed into a portal and appeared, occupying half the firmament. Incomparably vast. Mysterious runes circulated on it, releasing a heart-palpitating aura. I finally made it in time. Jiang Yuxian thought to himself. Although the white crane beneath him was a spirit bird, its grade wasn't high, and it didn't fly fast. By the time he arrived, there was barely any time left before the ceremony truly started. Jiang Yuxian did not hesitate. He directly commanded the white crane to descend, landing not far from the crowd. Thank you, Ah. You can go back on your own. Jiang Yuxian turned his head to thank it. But before he could even finish speaking, he saw that white crane fly away as if fleeing for its life. This made him feel extremely speechless. Am I really that unwelcome? Jiang Yuxian shook his head, kicked his legs, and after a few bounds arrived inside the crowd. And his arrival also attracted the attention of many people nearby. Whose child is this? Running out alone at such a young age. Could he also be here to participate in the assessment? No way, right? He's not even as big as a bean yet. What assessment could he take? Perhaps he's lost? Suddenly many people looked over. And some of the bolder maidens had their eyes light up even more. What an adorable baby. Whose family are you from? Your little face is so tender. Quick, let big sister pinch it. Are you even 3 years old? And your body is so sturdy. So impressive. Why are you here all alone? Where are the adults in your family? Jiang Yuxian's little face looked just like a porcelain doll, but his body was extremely sturdy, like a little calf. Those who didn't know looking at him would think he was older than 2 years old. When those maidens saw his cute appearance, they came up wanting to pinch his face. Jiang Yuxian dodged it without leaving a trace. His face was not something just anyone could pinch. But to be honest, these maidens were truly worthy of being cultivators. Each one looked more fresh and radiant than the last, being surrounded in the center. Waves of fragrance filled his mouth and nose. The only slight pity was, most of them were still young in age, like little lotus leaves just showing their sharp tips. Nothing much to look at yet. Jiang Yuxian grinned and laughed. He nodded at this group of maidens in a faux serious manner, and spoke indifferently. Hello, older sisters. I am here to participate in the assessment. The tender voice instantly caused a commotion among the nearby crowd. Haha. You're participating in the assessment at such a young age? Wanting to enter the ancient heaven sect isn't easy. You coming here? Do the adults in your family know? Little guy, you better go back quickly. Wait until you grow up a bit more before coming. Regarding this, Jiang Yuxian naturally wouldn't explain anything. After all, most people were very kind, speaking with smiles. However, at the same time, there were also slightly discordant voices present. Hey, do you really think the ancient heaven sex assessment is child's play? Entering the war dragon's secret realm at such a young age. I'm afraid when the time comes he won't even know how he died. This was a youth around 14 years old, dressed in a golden robe, with a haughty expression, looking divine and extraordinary. He sat cross-legged in the void, his entire body shrouded in an incomparably powerful aura. While speaking, he also carried faint sounds of tiger roars and flood dragon cries, making one's soul tremble. Behind the youth stood a group of young men and women, each one in high spirits. The other people around kept their distance from them, not daring to get close. When looking at these people, their eyes carried deep apprehension. Very clearly, these people had extraordinary backgrounds and powerful strength. Very few dared to provoke them. But Jiang Yuxian was not among those ranks. Hearing the other party's words, his eyes narrowed sharply, and he looked toward the youth who had spoken. When their gazes met, the youth opposite him suddenly felt a shudder in his heart. His heart felt as if it had been viciously squeezed by someone, as if facing the gaze of an immemorial divine king. The youth opposite him was greatly shocked inwardly. But the others around did not share the same feeling. They only saw that little guy, not even the size of a bean, having fierce eyes, an awe-inspiring domineering aura. He was actually not afraid of the other party at all, directly fighting back with his gaze. With this, it really scared a lot of people half to death. Among them, a maiden in a purple dress was especially anxious, hurriedly sending a voice transmission to Jiang Yuxian. Baby, quickly go somewhere else. That is the young master of the Shao clan of the Lingxiao region, Shao Aoran. He is already at the 7th layer of the spirit-nurturing realm, and is a designated disciple of the ancient heaven sect. Do not provoke him. The maiden reminded him out of kindness. The others also broke out in a cold sweat. The Shao clan is a massive clan in the Lingxiao region. Its status was no less than the ancient heaven sect before its transformation. It could be said to be extremely powerful. The Shao Aoran before their eyes was precisely the #1 talent of the Shao clan's current generation, possessing a powerful physique. In the future he might very well be able to contend with Saint Sun level figures. This was an extremely terrifying youth. Yet that little guy, who looked only about 2 years old, had a very fierce gaze. Everyone was truly afraid he would accidentally offend Shao Aoran and enrage him. In that case there would be hell to pay. In a split second, the purple-skirted maiden beside him grabbed Jiang Yuxian's little hand, wanting to take him somewhere else. Jiang Yuxian slipped away without leaving a trace, feeling somewhat amused inside. Indeed, once there are many people, all sorts of monsters and freaks come out. I came to take the assessment, and there are people pointing fingers. Am I someone you can just point fingers at? What Shao clan? Never heard of it. What ancient heaven sect designated disciple has a chance to contend with the Saint Sun? Is he very strong? If you dare to speak insolently again, I don't mind giving you a knife slice on your butt. To open your eyes wide. It just so happens I've been cultivating for so long, and still don't know my exact strength. Just right to find someone for target practice. Jiang Yuxian gave Shao Aoran a faint warning glance, before retracting his gaze. But Shao Aoran's heart wasn't so calm, only to see him abruptly stand up, his eyes becoming incomparably profound. Special physique, it must be a special physique. Shao Aoran was incredibly certain. That brat definitely possessed a terrifying and peerless special physique. Otherwise it would be impossible for him to feel that momentary panic. But at the same time he also felt extremely ashamed. He was actually frightened by a little brat just now. Simply absurd. In a split second, a nameless anger rose from his heart. Shao Aoran's expression slightly shifted, as he was about to verbally scold. But suddenly, a maiden's voice suddenly rang out. Sweet and melodious. Only its tone was full of mockery. Xiao Aoran. Long time no see, your progress isn't bad. You've even learned to throw your weight around with such a young child. Just as the words fell, a 13 or 14-year-old maiden's silk skirt fluttered. As she gracefully arrived, her figure was slender and light, swaying with charm. Her skin was smooth and clean like congealed fat and white jade. Her entire person exuded a unique temperament. Like a bright pearl spitting radiance. Like a divine lotus just blooming. It's her Qin Yuxi. The princess of the Qin clan from the Lingxiao region. As soon as the maiden arrived, she caused a stir among the crowd. Amidst animated discussions, many people recognized her identity. This maiden came from the Qin clan, originating from the Lingxiao region, just like the Xiao clan. The two had competed for many years, without a clear winner. But in this generation, Qin Yuxi's talent surpassed Xiao Aoran by a head. Rumor had it that the two had fought 3 years ago, and Qin Yuxi firmly held the upper hand. Seeing her appear, Xiao Aoran's face abruptly darkened, becoming somewhat ugly. Qin Yuxi, you underestimate me. I wouldn't stoop so low as to argue with a child. Since you are here too, then there must be a battle between the two of us. I will wait for you in the War Dragon secret realm, he said with a cold snort, sitting cross-legged back down, and slightly closing his eyes. Qin Yuxi similarly arrived here surrounded by a group of youths and maidens. She threw a glance at Xiao Aoran. A sneer flashed across the corners of her mouth. With a turn she landed right in front of Jiang Yuxian. Rolling up a fragrant breeze, she squatted down, also wanting to pinch Jiang Yuxian's face. At the same time, Jiang Yuxian's eyes also lit up. This big sister is really pretty. Most importantly, although she wasn't old, she had actually already developed to a considerable scale. Hey, what a pity that I'm still so small. I really want to grow up quickly. Little guy, did you come here all alone? Do you know what this place is for? Where are the adults in your family? Seeing Jiang Yuxian dodge her palm, Qin Yuxi instead went to pat his head, while asking a string of questions. Hello big sister. I am also here to take the assessment. Jiang Yuxian dodged again, and answered her question at the same time. Qin Yuxi pursed her lips and giggled. If you're here for the assessment, where is your token? She asked like this. Jiang Yuxian immediately froze. Token? What token? I don't know. I don't have one. Is this thing mandatory for taking the assessment? What should I do? The dog system didn't mention this at all. Seeing his changing expression, the surrounding crowd couldn't help but laugh. This little guy really thought he was here for the assessment. He said it so seriously. Yet in the end he didn't even have a token. You must have sneaked out secretly, right? It's very dangerous inside. Without a token, you won't be able to teleport to save your life at critical moments, understand? Qin Yuxi couldn't help laughing. Her large eyes narrowed into slits. She was amused by this little guy. And hearing her explanation, Jiang Yuxian also breathed a sigh of relief. So the token's function is only to save one's life. Presumably the ancient heaven sect and the major clans did not want to see large-scale bloodshed. Thus every disciple undergoing the assessment would carry a token to enter the War Dragon secret realm, and activate it at critical junctures, to directly teleport away. Thank goodness. As long as it doesn't represent the qualification for the assessment. As for saving my life, what token could compare to one of my mom's Dharma bodies? The War Dragon secret realm is opening. Everyone prepare to enter. Right at this moment, a grand voice echoed across the surrounding air. At the same time, that incomparably massive void portal above began to rotate rapidly. Runes flowed, evolving endless divine charm. Rumble, as if opening a gate between heaven and earth, emitting a terrifying rumbling sound. Following closely behind was an extremely tough and forceful tearing power, pulling at everyone's bodies. Towards that portal, the War Dragon secret realm has opened. The assessment has begun. The crowds near and far all boiled over. Under the pull of that powerful force, a large number of figures flew straight into the sky, plunging into the portal. It's very dangerous inside. Little guy, you better not go. You should go back and drink your milk. Qin Yuxi finished speaking. Behind her suddenly emerged a brilliantly glowing divine wheel. Within the divine wheel, the phantom of a divine bird also manifested. Its specific form could not be seen clearly. Just as Jiang Yuxian looked at the high sky, and was momentarily distracted, this divine wheel lifted him with a gentle force, and shot through the air instantly. In an instant, it carried Jiang Yuxian 10 miles away, before being retracted by Qin Yuxi. Jiang Yuxian stood on a mountain rock somewhat dumbfounded. I got sent out? What the heck? I clearly said I am here for the assessment. What do you mean by sending me this far away? I have to run back myself again. He let out a bitter smile. instantly stepping into the void, moving rapidly close to the ground. Before long, he once again arrived at the entrance to the War Dragon's secret realm. By this time more than half of the figures had already disappeared, vanishing behind the portal. Qin Yushi and the others had also reached midair, about to enter inside. But right at this moment, she saw a tiny figure rapidly running over from below. "Why are you back again? This is not a place you can come to. Go back quickly," she shouted out loud. But it was drowned out by the terrifying rumbling. The little guy completely didn't hear. Moreover, there were simply too many people around. And he didn't see her either. Only to see that tiny figure gather all his strength, and with one leap reached midair, looking as if he was afraid he wouldn't make it. This really made Qin Yushi anxious. This was truly a headache-inducing child. Without even thinking, she directly mobilized her power. While resisting the pulling force of the void portal, she struck out her divine wheels again. This time, she used 3 divine wheels. Jiang Yuxian completely didn't notice this situation, just as he breathed a sigh of relief, and hadn't even recovered his senses yet. He was once again enveloped by an extremely formidable force, and sent 30 miles away in one fell swoop. Jiang Yuxian stood at the top of a large tree, his mind full of dizziness. "How did I get sent out again? Big sister, what are you trying to do? I swear to F********. I am really here to take the assessment." Jiang Yuxian wanted to cry, but had no tears and almost stomped his feet in frustration. "Careless, I was too careless." Seeing fewer and fewer figures in the distance, the portal to the War Dragon's secret realm was also slowly closing. "I'm afraid it won't be long before it completely shuts. If I don't hurry, it will really be too late." Jiang Yuxian sighed softly and hesitated no more. He directly activated the Shing word secret. His tiny figure drew a perfectly straight line, flying and charging over, fast to the extreme. Finally, right before the portal closed, he plunged headfirst into it. And his actions were also seen by many people in the distance. These people were all elders who had escorted their clan's youths here, along with some deacons of the ancient heaven sect. How did a little milk-drinking baby pop up? He actually went inside. Is he also here to take the assessment? Whose child is this? His elders' hearts are way too big, aren't they? The ancient heaven sect's assessment is nothing to joke around about. Aren't they afraid something will happen to him inside? Everyone was astonished beyond belief. Although the War Dragon's secret realm had been set up, it still harbored great dangers. Clashes between the many disciples taking the assessment were also inevitable. Even with a token on them, it was impossible to be absolutely foolproof. A group of ancient heaven sect deacons also had their eyelids twitching. The disciple recruitment ceremony had been held many times, but someone this young participating was truly a first. That child is not simple. His movement technique is also incomparably terrifying. He probably has a formidable background. This is definitely a genius. Let's just hope he honestly clears the trials, and doesn't enter the wilderness areas. If not, things might really go wrong. A middle-aged man in his 40s or 50s said in a deep voice. A child with such outstanding talent, the ancient heaven sect would also be willing to vigorously nurture. If he perished prematurely in the assessment, it would be too much of a pity. On the other side, Jiang Yuxian plunged headfirst into the War Dragon's secret realm, breathing a sigh of relief inwardly, rushing frantically. He finally made it. But as soon as he entered, a fiercely peerless force shook the air and crashed down, directly knocking him down from the high sky, landing onto the ground. This was a vast and endless plain. Densely packed figures were trekking with difficulty here. To the far left of the plain were myriad mountains and ravines, dense old forests, where roars of vicious beasts vaguely echoed out. On the right was a great river, surging and roaring, turbid waves crashing against the sky, with a terrifying momentum. And above the firmament, a divine pagoda floated, looking as if cast from immortal gold, releasing imperishable radiance, like a blazing sun hanging high in the 9 heavens. Thousands of Tao principles and endless truths lingered around it, surging with divine might, overwhelming heaven and earth. A terrifying pressure swept outward, penetrating every inch of space, suppressing every person. There's no justice. This is only the first trial. And the ancient heaven sect already used a saint weapon. It's too hard. I'm about to fail holding on. Many people wore long sorrowful faces, howling endlessly. This was exactly the ancient heaven sect's first trial. Under the pressure of the saint weapon, crossing the plain beneath their feet, and reaching a mountain range in the distance would be considered a pass. At that time one could become an official disciple of the ancient heaven sect, entering the sect to cultivate. Additionally, there is a second trial, but that is prepared for a small number of heaven's favored children. Ordinary people shouldn't even think about it. I don't feel anything. Jiang Yuxian stood at the very back of the crowd, muttering in his mouth. Besides being unable to fly, he didn't feel any other abnormalities on his body. Very obviously, that saint weapon had a seal placed on it. The terrifying pressure only targeted everyone's cultivation talent, and had nothing to do with cultivation base. The stronger the talent, the smaller the pressure felt. In fact, this plane was already located at the edge of the saint weapon's pressure zone. The further left one went, the greater the pressure. As for the right, a barrier was set up at the edge of that great river, not allowing anyone to cross it. This was the optimal zone. But for countless people, it remained a natural moat and divine mountain difficult to cross. From time to time someone could be seen falling down, having no choice but to activate their token and teleport out. This isn't interesting. Jiang Yuxian shook his head, feeling extremely bored. Although he was just here as a bystander, he didn't expect there to be absolutely no challenge at all. Thereupon he clasped his little hands behind his back, and strolled step by step toward the distance as if walking in a quiet courtyard. This scene made countless people drop their jaws in shock. What did they just see? A little baby who probably isn't even weaned yet, under the pressure of the sacred artifact, is actually moving so fast. Just like strolling through his own backyard. Relaxed and cozy. This is too much of a blow to people, right? Those highly talented, outstanding figures have long entered the deep mountains of the wilderness. The ancient heaven sect left opportunities there, specifically prepared for them. Not long after, Jiang Yuxian heard such words again. He fell into deep thought. As far as he knew, the first round of assessment lasted for a total of 3 days, and the second round wouldn't open until 3 days later. And with his speed, passing the first round wouldn't even take a day. Regarding this, Jiang Yuxian pondered for a moment. He didn't know what these so-called opportunities actually entailed. Anyway, being idle is just being idle. It wouldn't hurt to go broaden his horizons. Thinking of this, Jiang Yuxian gently pushed off with his short little legs, launching his body into the air, rushing towards that stretch of deep mountains in the distance. After a few leaps and bounds, he disappeared without a trace, leaving behind only pairs of extremely terrified eyes, staring blankly on the spot. The ancient heaven sect indeed left some opportunities amidst the mountains. Not long after Jiang Yuxian entered, he found, atop a steep cliff, a precious herb. However, the ancient heaven sect obviously wouldn't let people pick it easily. Where the precious herb grew, a low-tier formation was laid down. For an ordinary divine wheel or spirit-fostering realm cultivator to break it, it would definitely take a lot of effort. But to Jiang Yuxian, this was nothing at all. Once the Shing movement incantation was executed, he easily phased right through it, plucking a bright red spiritual fruit. Taking it in his hand, a waft of fresh fragrance hit his face. Jiang Yuxian didn't recognize it. After looking at it for a moment, he suddenly started complaining. Only a 7th grade spiritual fruit. Not that great, huh? He had learned before that precious herbs in this world corresponded with major cultivation realms, divided into a total of 13 grades. Grades 1 through 9 were called spiritual herbs. Above those were king grade, emperor grade, saint grade, and deity grade. Deity grade was practically invisible, as rare as heavenly deity-level powerhouses. They would have long gained sentience, capable of flying and burrowing into the earth, making them extremely hard to capture. Saint-grade items are equally rare. Even among those holy lands, great religions, aristocratic families, and divine dynasties, they might not necessarily be able to produce even a few stalks. And within such factions, emperor-grade precious herbs were also incredibly valuable. Unless the younger generation had outstanding talent, they wouldn't get to eat a single stalk in their entire lives. But Jiang Yuxian was different. When he was in secluded cultivation, he didn't know how many emperor-grade precious herbs he had munched on, and even more king-grade ones. Fortunately, it's a spiritual fruit. Having it as a snack isn't too bad. Jiang Yuxian muttered. He had eaten too many precious herbs, and had rich experience. Most precious herbs smelled wonderfully fragrant, but tasted terrible when eaten. Hard to swallow. For instance, the purple flame phoenix blood mushroom he had chewed on before was both bitter and astringent, and even shot straight to the head. Compared to those high-grade precious herbs, Jiang Yuxian preferred eating spiritual fruits. Even if the grade was a bit lower, it didn't matter. While he was thinking, he leaped down from the cliff face, just preparing to continue his stroll. But he hadn't walked far when he ran head-on into a 5 or 6-year-old little boy. Seeing the spiritual fruit in Jiang Yuxian's hand, the little boy was stunned at first. Immediately, his eyes locked onto it, smacking his lips a few times. Then he spent quite some effort arranging his expression, revealing an incredibly fierce look. "Little guy, hand over the spiritual fruit, or else I will beat you up." Jiang Yuxian was dumbfounded for a second. Then he felt amused in his heart. Good heavens! He actually ran into a robbery. And the other party was a 5 or 6-year-old brat. Taking so much effort, just to pretend to look fierce, was utterly hilarious. Are you freaking trying to scare a 3-year-old child? He couldn't help but laugh out loud. Then he simply darkened his face as well, and spoke coldly. "You dare to rob me? I'll also give you a chance. Hand over all the precious herbs on your body. Otherwise I'll beat you until you can't stop crying." Jiang Yuxian said this while waving his fist, looking much fiercer than the other party. The little boy opposite him clearly froze for a moment, blinking his eyes. His mind was buzzing. The little guy in front of him was a whole lot shorter than himself, yet actually tried to rob him in return. Were those baby-voiced words serious? Are you kidding me? He paused for a moment, then made himself look even more ferocious. "Then I'm going to snatch it myself. Don't say I'm bullying you." The little boy abruptly took a step forward, walking with the powerful strides of a dragon and tiger, instantly closing in on Jiang Yuxian. One palm reached forward, wrapped in vigorous spiritual energy, carrying an extremely tyrannical and tough aura, grabbing towards the spiritual fruit in Jiang Yuxian's hand. "You're actually making a move?" Jiang Yuxian raised his eyebrows. He also raised a small fist, and fiercely smashed it out, colliding right against the little boy's palm. Boom! A loud noise echoed out, and a bright light exploded between the palm and the fist. A powerful, sharp aura vented outwards, cutting out like a sharp blade, directly carving a deep trench into the adjacent cliff face. The little boy's body retreated rapidly, backing up 7 or 8 steps in a row, before he could steady his body. "So painful. Why is your physical body so strong?" The little boy bared his teeth in pain, feeling a piercing pain coming from his right hand. Looking back at the opposite side, that little guy stood rooted to the spot without moving an inch, showing no signs of injury or pain at all. This greatly shocked him. "Little guy, you really have some skills. However, I didn't even use half of my cultivation level just now. You definitely won't be my match. Hurry up and hand over the spiritual fruit, or else I'll get serious." The little boy once again spoke in a vicious tone. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Yuxian immediately became energetic. "Getting serious? Good. Come quickly. I haven't fought with anyone yet. I'll use you for practice today." Those who dared to enter this wilderness were definitely not simple people. Although the little boy in front of him wasn't old, his cultivation was definitely not weak either. It was perfect to use him to verify his own strength. While speaking, the blood and qi within Jiang Yuxian's body circulated with a boom, erupting with a terrifying sound like a tsunami and landslide. Buzz buzz buzz. An unparalleled, ferocious imposing aura swept out, causing the void to violently tremble. His body was like divine metal, muscles bulging and nodding, like a wild, primordial fierce beast, with a tough and formidable aura. On the cliff face beside him, some loose rocks, pulled by his imposing aura, came tumbling down. The little boy's heart was shaken. He had never seen such powerful physical strength, where churning blood and qi could actually cause the void to resonate. Without another word, Jiang Yuxian stamped the ground until it cracked, and flew towards the little boy. Without overthinking, the little boy also moved. With a boom, boundless spiritual energy surged from his body, instantly soaring outwards. This area seemingly turned into an ocean. His hands suddenly formed a hand seal, and infinite spiritual energy instantly transformed into the shape of a fierce tiger. This was actually a powerful divine ability. "Tiger Slaughter Seal," the little boy softly shouted, fiercely launching the divine ability. Roar! The spiritual energy turned into a fierce tiger, its roar shaking the heavens. Its 4 paws stomped the void. As it charged towards that small figure ahead. It indeed looks decent, but it's still far from enough. Jiang Yuxian whispered at the corner of his mouth. The 5 fingers of his right hand clenched tightly into a fist. And relying solely on his physical body's strength, he smashed fiercely down upon that fierce tiger phantom. A roar. Accompanied by a sorrowful wail. The fierce tiger phantom exploded instantly, shattering into scattered fragments of light, flying in all directions. Terrifying shattered energy agitated the surroundings, stirring up monstrous waves in the void. The peerless sharpness pierced through everything. Surrounding vegetation was completely shredded into pieces. Massive boulders on the stone wall shattered and plummeted down with a crash. Amidst this boundless raging tide, the little boy was directly blown away, tumbling along the ground for over a dozen zhang. By the time he stopped, he lay sprawled on the ground, having eaten a mouthful of dirt. What the hell kind of physical body is this? How can it be so freakish? The little boy cursed under his breath. He could never have imagined that a guy much smaller than himself could have such a ferocious physical body, able to endure a divine ability head-on. And after all that, he was completely fine. Look, he's raising his small fist again, charging towards him like a wild bull. Come again. Jiang Yuxian shouted loudly, chasing the little boy down like catching a cicada in 8 steps, raising his hand to smash. I don't believe I can't even defeat a little squirt like you. 9 divine wheels, rise for me. The little boy yelled. Suddenly, 9 massive divine wheels rose from behind him. Blazing golden light filled the sky, reflecting everything nearby in a sea of gold. This mountainous wilderness was already beyond the area covered by the sacred artifact, so he could utilize all his power. In a split second, 1 divine wheel flew towards the charging Jiang Yuxian, bombarding him swiftly and fiercely, followed closely by the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Each divine wheel seemed to contain the might to destroy everything, crushing the void with rumbling sounds. Its momentum raging, earth-shattering. In contrast, Jiang Yuxian appeared incredibly tiny and insignificant. Your strength is quite good, but it's still far from enough. Jiang Yuxian chuckled softly, pushing off with both legs. His figure swept forward wildly. Then he threw a violent punch, landing heavily on the first divine wheel. Boom! Another loud bang echoed. This divine wheel shot back at an even faster speed, like a huge mountain flying across the sky. Like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood, it flattened a nearby mountain peak into level ground, sending dust and dirt flying. Show me your true strength, or else I'm going to come beat you up. Jiang Yuxian laughed loudly, his immature voice echoing. He was incredibly brave and unmatched. His small fist smashed out, 1 punch after another. Each time, it knocked a divine wheel flying away. The nearby area shook with loud noises. Rubble flying, the earth shaking and mountains trembling. Not long after, Jiang Yuxian once again stood in front of the little boy. Is your body made of divine iron? Monster. Freak. I'm not fighting anymore, not fighting. If I fight anymore, I'll have to use my trump cards. The little boy cried out strangely, rolled over, and bolted away. He kept muttering under his breath. He was completely defeated. For such a small guy, to have such a terrifying physical body, was truly unimaginable. Too strong. What the hell is there to fight? Better run away quickly. You still want to run? I said I would beat you until you couldn't stop crying. Jiang Yuxian said with a smile. He slightly activated the Shing incantation, and grabbed the back of the little boy's collar in an instant. A tiny hand, just like iron pincers, locked him firmly in place. The other hand aimed at the other party's bottom, smacking down continuously. Smack! 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 This is for robbing me. This is for not behaving. Boo-hoo-hoo-hoo. I was wrong, spare me. In the wilderness, the sounds of scolding and crying for mercy mingled together, spreading very, very far away. But miraculously, both of these voices were still very childish. Jiang Yuxian held down the little boy and gave him a severe beating. His physical body was like divine iron, unparalleled in toughness, and his strength was surprisingly immense, beating the little boy until he wailed loudly. It was quite a while before Jiang Yuxian stopped. Then he thoroughly searched the little boy's body. But unfortunately, he only found 1 precious herb. It was a 7th-grade spiritual grass. The little boy had a face full of resentment. He hadn't been in this place for long, and with great difficulty, he had found a precious herb, before he could even warm it in his embrace. It was snatched away just like that. What's your name? Jiang Yuxian suddenly glared at him and asked. The little boy shrank his neck, deeply afraid that this ridiculously fierce little guy would start beating him again. Hui Xiaodao. He was trembling with fear, his heart still fluttering with terror. The corner of Jiang Yuxian's mouth twitched fiercely. Backhand scoop? Damn it, what a weird name. He muttered, then turned his head, and ignored Hui Xiaotao, heading off into the distance. Looking at Jiang Yuxian's departing figure, Hui Xiaotao sighed heavily. Everything was fine. Why did he have to provoke such a little guy? This is too brutal. Trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice. My precious herb. No way. I need to find someone to help me snatch it back. He muttered to himself indignantly. His figure flashed as he also left the area.